This episode of An Unexpected Podcast is brought to you by Louise Murphy. Thank you.
Hello, friends, and welcome to An Unexpected Podcast. I'm Ez,
And I'm Lane.
and we're talking Tolkien.
We're coming to you from Door and Shield Studios in the Shire of America, the beautiful state of Ohio, in a little village called Amanda.
This week, we've come to the end of all things. Well, kind of. Anyway, we're glad to be with you.
One, in the words of Samwise the Brave, my friend, one last gasp.
Yeah. Sam put his ragged orc cloak under his master's head and covered them both with the gray robe of Lorien. And as he did so, his thoughts went out to that fair land and to the elves. And he hoped that the cloth woven by their hands might have some virtue to keep them hidden beyond all hope in this wilderness of fear. It seemed that in the confusion and the mingling of many companies of various kinds, they had not been missed. Not yet, at any rate. Oh, Lord, have mercy.
No time to waste, man.
So, and literally when I started reading this chapter, and I was listening to it again on the way down here, read it twice. The robe, right? Who had sewn this cloth? Who, like, this is something that was woven long ago. It was given to them, and who would have thought that it would mean and do so much and be so important?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, man, that's a huge thought.
like I actually have a couple of, like, it's really weird because we had someone, we were just in further up, we were talking about sewing.
Yeah.
A little bit. And I talked about my mom sewing.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't even really thought about it until moments ago. And in my blue kind of chest, my treasure chest, I have my blanket that was made for me by my mother when I was young. And it's I'll never give that up. It is torn. It's got tears and stains and different things on it. But dude, it gives me such comfort in it. It protected me. And I actually, oh man, you're going to think it's kind of corny or whatever, but like having that, like the nights where you chose. And you remember those nights where you chose to sleep with that blanket for a reason. I thought of that. I thought, man, okay, wow. And it had nothing to do with the colors or how warm it was or anything. It was that my mom had made it. And she had stitched it. And it was mine to protect me. Yeah, so,
no, dude, there's because you're talking about, like, you can, to a certain extent, you can say that about anything that's been created. But there's something so personal about clothing, blankets, even like hats, hoods. Because we're always clothed, I think, and because clothing can go on a journey with us, and because we choose what we wear, we can wear things over and over and over again. It's almost like there are some things that they almost become inseparable from who you are. Mm-hmm. A blanket as a child, and you hanging on to that now, to think that that she wove that long ago. Put that together long ago, that it will live as long as you do, whether it's just one tiny thread you hang on to.
Yeah.
If it came to that point, you would never let go of that because of what that means to you.
Yeah. Someone asked me at one point, like, do you want to throw that out? It wasn't some member of my family. It was, and someone who didn't understand how important that was. And I thought, never would I. Yeah. That's something that I'll always keep, and maybe, and I hope that, that I'm blessed to pass that down to my children, or whoever. Yeah. But yeah, that's something it made me think, and Sam is in this position where he's also just thinking back to that fair land.
Yeah.
And like in the beginning of this, there's such a, first of all, I want to mention it. This is told through Sam's point of view.
Yeah.
Which I know you want to talk about a little bit too, but it's it's important because right away there's a distinction between like one of them having the ability to think and remember and see and smell and taste those fair lands.
Yeah, right.
And another, Frodo not being able to.
It actually didn't really even occur to me until this chapter that most of the time when we're with Frodo and Sam past the Fellowship, it's from Sam's perspective. Like a lot of it, or maybe it's increasingly so that way.
Yeah.
And like what Tolkien did was so perfect. Like even in that, he's illustrating a distancing between these two hobbits. And for one thing it does is it keeps a certain amount of mystery and applicability to what Frodo's going through, right? We don't know his thoughts. Mm-hmm. We don't know his inner monologue. We don't know his struggle exactly. And it's perfect because it can apply to any struggle that you're having. Yeah. What is the ring in your life right now? Mm-hmm. Like, what is the ring over the course of your life? What is the burden that you're carrying that you're trying to destroy? So that is genius, because anyone can relate to Frodo that way, no matter what it is. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that it does too is I think it strengthens Frodo, because we're seeing this, and there's moments of realization that Sam has, almost like we have that moment of realization with him about, holy crap, like this burden I don't even totally, like he even a couple times remembers that I don't know what this is like. I think specifically when he goes to pick him up and he expects it to be this extra weight on him. Mm-hmm. And it's so heavy on Frodo that Sam doesn't even feel it. Like it's not even a physical weight anymore. It is for Frodo, but it's something that's internalized, right? I don't know. It's incredible to sit back and think, and I say I don't know because it's just, you could talk about it forever. The fact that, yes, we're seeing this through Sam's perspective. We're seeing it through his thoughts. It's been kind of more, would you agree with that? It's been increasingly that way.
Oh, it has. Yeah.
And purposely to show that kind of like that Frodo is more and more focused on, or more and more consumed with fighting. Like he's spending all his energy on resisting the ring.
Yes.
Every ounce.
Yep.
Even physical. So like, inner, spiritual, mental, and then even his physical concentration and strength to not put that ring on.
Yeah.
Because he wants nothing else than he wants it to be over.
Yes.
Whether it's destroyed or whether he puts it on and they're taken, like he wants it to be over. But he knows what he's been, like his quest. And that's that and Sam is what's keeping him, man. It's that promise I made to my friends.
Yes.
The fact that all my friends out there are still counting on me. Mm-hmm. And even larger than that, like a lot of like races are counting on me.
Yes.
Groups of people, regions of the world, my home, the Shire. Mm-hmm. And that Sam is here. Like, oh my gosh, I'm skipping ahead, but
no, you're fine.
Talking about the dynamic, I guess, like the point where he says, Sam, take my hand, I want to put it on. Mm-hmm. Or he begs him, like, keep my hands from going to the ring.
Yep.
I don't know, man. Like another thing this chapter did for me too is, I guess this is what I'm getting at, is that like, even though the focus is on Sam's perspective, it helped me see. And it should just be like, whoa, yeah, Sam's a badass. Sam's incredible. Like, it's all Sam.
Right.
It made me look back at Frodo and go, oh my gosh.
Yep.
We are so consumed with, and rightfully so, like Sam as the companion and Sam as the constant supporter and Sam as that unsung hero, that we forget that Frodo. And I am guilty of joking around about, Frodo, couldn't even. Mm-hmm. Frodo does something that we had this conversation earlier.
Yep.
No one else could have done.
Let's just do it. Let's just do it because I'm. Let's just do it. I'm gonna.
That's all. I'm done.
No, you're fine because I was gonna, and I'm gonna come back to. We're gonna get back in this for a second though. I think there is a burden on the reader. Actually, I think Tolkien does this.
Okay. Yes.
A burden to see what you just said, because I remember my first couple reads of this when I was much younger. Mm-hmm. And you come away with this idea that Sam is, epic. He's epic. He is.
He is.
But there is sort of a burden to see, like it's as if they're. I don't know. I don't really know what Tolkien's saying here. Like, like what does it take to see through Sam to Frodo?
Yeah.
Not just stop at Sam, but then see all the way through to Frodo and say, you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's why he uses him. And it's like,
Yeah.
you can't just stop there. You have to keep going because there's so much happening on the other side there. And, and Sam is realizing it. But we got to bring that back to ourselves and say, we got to realize ourselves. Yeah.
And then it takes you even further to the fact that, because I think just naturally you have like Team Sam, Team Frodo people.
Sure.
Right? As uppers, as ringers, throughout the ages, it's not necessarily though, but I think there's a tendency to be like, well, I think Sam was the real hero. Well, why? I think Frodo. And it's about that relationship.
Yep.
It's not one or the other in isolation. Mm-hmm. It's the fact that, because man, even thinking back to the fact that when Frodo left, he intended on going on his own. When he broke away from the Fellowship, he was going to go by himself.
That's right. He was.
But that wasn't right. Mm-hmm. It's not how the quest could ever have been fulfilled or achieved. It was in that bond, that friendship, that brotherhood, that love for one another.
Yep. But do you know what's great about that, right? Is that each of them, the reason it's such a perfect, you know where I'm driving here, is that Frodo, that is honorable, and what he did was great, and he had to do that. He never asked Sam. He would never ask Sam to do something like this, and that's amazing. Yep. And that is what it is. Sam then also needed to be given that option to say, I'm going to march out into that river.
Yep.
And I'm going.
Yep.
And it's not like you asked me to come and I just felt like, well, yeah, no. You left, and yet I came after you.
Yeah.
And I will continue to, and that is the role. And right here, I mean, so, Sam says, so that was the job I felt that I had to do when I started, thought Sam, to help Mr. Frodo to the last step and then die with him. So,
and just the realization, I guess, that he's having there, they're he's saying there's no provisions.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like he's realizing we don't have food for the journey home. Right. And then coming to the next logical step, which is there will be no journey home.
Yep.
Because we're going to die. Like without this stuff, we're already weakened, and our provisions are like next to nothing. Like it's not even, and there's no hope if we can't eat and drink.
Yeah. Right. And this is the very beginning of something I took a note on here that I wanted to talk about, and it'll keep weaving itself back in here, but is that internal struggle that he has.
Yes.
Because that is what he says. Yep. Like, we only have enough here. And they talk about the limber spread and it being this renewed to the spirit, and and that it was special in that way.
The secret power that it has almost to strengthen the will.
It's just enough to get them to that task. But then, that thought of, well, that's it. That's where that was what we set out to do. We're going to do that, and that's the end. But then something just in the back corner of his mind says, and he thinks of Gandalf, and he thinks, would he have sent us on a quest like this if there was no hope?
Yeah, right.
Literally no hope of return.
Right.
No, he sent us, and there was a small chance that we might make it back.
Yeah.
And that helps you drive on. It helps you just keep going.
That knowing that someone who cared about you so much would not send you to doom.
Right.
Sorry, not to play on that term.
No, seriously.
Yeah, but would not send you to utter despair.
Yes, right here. I can't think somehow that Gandalf would have sent Mr. Frodo on this errand if there hadn't have been any hope of his ever coming back at all.
Yeah.
Things all went wrong when he went down in Moria. I wish he hadn't. He would have done something. And another note that I made, I was like, do they know? Yeah, no. He's still Gonzo. Like the crazy thing is that
still Gonzo.
So I don't know. I don't know when to bring this up, and so I guess I'm just going to bring it up now. We on our way down to Texas, we're talking about great captains and spiritual warfare, and those who would, that burden. Right now, they don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
they have nothing.
Right.
They have each other.
Yeah.
and they each have their own role to play. But it's like they are in this whole chapter. They are under attack.
Yeah.
And not just it's not even just an like this
Yes.
this war that's going on around them. Nada. Forget that.
Yeah.
There's an internal war going
Right.
on.
Yes.
And
it's ironic that one of the not to interrupt, I'm sorry, but the moment that like almost mortal danger is not furthest away from them, but all these armies are clearing out. Mm-hmm. It's almost like, because of their friends drawing the attention of the eye, all the orcs, all the beasts that Sauron has at his disposal are literally parting before them.
Mm-hmm.
There's none of that threat left.
Right.
You're right. It's all that internal, will the ring be put on? Will we have, or micro problems, like not micro problems, but comparably,
Seemingly,
will we have enough food?
Right.
Will we have enough water to even get there? Do we even, later on, Sam's like, I don't even know where we're going.
Yes. Yes, he had no, he
and
did
it's
not.
only because of the work of the orcs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keeping that path and that road clear.
Yes.
That they know where to go.
Yes. Right.
Like, it's funny that hadn't even been a thought. Like, we know where the mountain is. We know where this Mount Doom volcano is. Do you walk right in?
Right.
Where are we supposed to go?
Right.
How do we get the ring? Like, the final steps of the task of the quest were left up in the air.
Right.
And had it not been for Sauron commissioning his orcs to keep the road clear, they may never have found it.
Well, and
either it would have taken too long and they would have died, or they would have gone to the wrong place. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and we'll get to this. It's sort of like like at the very end. Something you and I talked at the end of this chapter is that it is that own. It's
his own folly.
It's his own fault. Right? It's its own sort of like evil ambition or whatever that causes his downfall.
Yep.
And so there's a lesson there. But right, yeah, there's so much in this, and like it just made me think, like, Sam is thinking back, like, Gandalf is not here. I don't know what happened to the others.
Yeah.
All I know and all I can believe in is just putting, just believe that we got to make it as far as we can.
Yeah.
And do the very best that we can. We have to give it our all. And like, they almost run out. They almost run out of strength here. Yeah. But okay, so here we go. Even as hope had died in Sam,
I love this paragraph,
or
man.
seemed to die. Yep. It was turned to a new strength. Sam's plain hobbit face grew stern, almost grim, as the will hardened him, and he felt through all of his limbs a thrill, as if he was turning into some creature of stone and steel that neither despair nor weariness, nor endless barren miles could subdue.
I wrote next to that illustration because that has put an image in my mind that I want to spend a long time like bringing to life. Yep. Like what an image there.
Yep.
What an image. Like the and I don't know where this comes from because right before it's coupled with hope dying or seeming to die, and then just this rebirth of his will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like turning him into, he may as well be a giant. Mm-hmm. May as well be this stone giant. Mm-hmm. That's how transformed he was.
Yeah.
Unreal, man.
Well,
unreal. Like, and just the imagery he puts together there. Like, and we all know what that feels like too. To feel that, like, all right, okay. That feeling of thinking like, at least for what I need to do, I'm going to be invincible. Mm-hmm. Like, even if I am defeated in whatever you're thinking about, my will won't be. Right. I will try. I will give everything I can to this cause. Yeah.
Well, it makes me wonder too, like if he, because he had it said that oftentimes he was the one who, like, hope was always there. He always kept it in mind, but he had a moment here, where he despaired.
Yeah, you're right.
And I think when that happens, it is our response to that.
Yes.
It happens to all of us. It happens to the best of us.
It happens to everybody. Yep.
Right. And so it's like, what am I going to do, and what do I need to do to preserve myself, to steel myself moving forward?
Yes. Something else too that I forgot about until I looked at the. I mean, there's just so much here that you have to like constantly look at your notes and remind yourself. At the end of this section here, before we break and we go into the next part, it's Frodo that's sapped, and Sam is invigorated. And throughout this chapter, we see times where it's flip flopped, where Frodo feels strengthened.
Yeah.
Without him even understanding why, and Sam is more kind of defeated. Like we talk about the relationship and the balancing act and the way they complement each other. That's just another way that Tolkien is showing that they are what the other needs. Another thing that's happened too that I noticed in terms of just the language he uses of color. Yeah. We've seen gray, gray, gray. And there's repetition of language and also a transformation that happens throughout this chapter of colors he uses. And I wrote over on the margins for the first couple paragraphs, gray, 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 but no company.
Wow.
And I'm just thinking it's so interesting how previously that had a very hopeful, and still even now it's like gray. Well, gray it could turn black or it could turn into light again. And we have this, even last chapter, we had this battle in the air, right? Between the winds and the fume of Mordor. And that hasn't gone away yet. And it's still kind of, I love how he's leaving us on, not to pick a pun, but on the edge. He's leaving us on the edge, on a precipice, on which way is this going to go?
Yep.
And he does that this whole chapter to the very end. Yeah. And even then, after the end of the chapter, we're like, well, we got to keep reading. What's going to happen?
Yes. Right. Yeah. We don't know. It's all uncertain. And matter of fact, everything seems stacked against us. And it doesn't seem like we're going to be able to win. Yeah. Even when, Sam's back to this last chapter, when he gets that wish of light, and this gray light does show on the land what he thought was, and this is to summarize some of this he thinks it's this formless whatever beforehand, and the light hits it, and he realizes it's full of snares and traps and places where like these, you can see. It's good that they have sight and they have light to kind of see where they're going, but it feels like, oh wow, this is again not easy. This is also not going to be,
but also places where they can hide though too.
Yeah, you're right.
They can hide from place and creep to the next, and it was
because that's what they do.
Yeah. So right. But if that hadn't happened, again, they'd be in the dark. They would be guessing what was next. Oh, it's crazy, man.
Well, see, and I guess maybe even later on, I kind of think you talk about needing a map.
I found one for you.
You did?
Yeah, it's in the dock.
Wow. Okay.
I knew you would need one. I have two
because of all the direction, right? That they're going.
Oh yeah, I even needed it.
You are. See,
this is Tolkien. Tolkien did these. Or Christopher may have. I don't know which Tolkien boy handled it. But look at the roundabout way they took too. That they had to kind of take.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
So they literally went along the range.
Yeah, look at the second one too. It shows where Cirith Ungol is. They go all along the Morgai, mountains range, and they cross and follow the road for a little bit, and you can see that it even has dates on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Where they are at each date, and then that straight shot they take at the end.
Right at the end, yeah.
And that's kind of where we are now, right? Or are they still on the road?
Yeah. They're about to get back. Actually, they're about to get back on the road because
okay.
Sam kind of says that there's a bit they had a bit of luck, right? And he's hoping that.
So they're out in that. They're in that plain on the way to Orodruin for how many? 1, 2, 3 days.
3 days are out there. But yeah, exactly. So they're right. So we're looking at, what is that? We're probably at the 22nd or the 21st there in March.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
I think we must be. This is right at the end of the road.
Yeah.
There.
And they're seeing this. I guess they're seeing the plains of Golgoroth right before them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Anyways, it is sort of like what I think is interesting about Sam in this is that before, in the last chapter, when they sort of just several times the thorny bushes break their fall, things that were lucky, things that happened that it seemed like, how did we make that? What's going on? There's something here. He is going to keep trusting to that. He's not worried. I mean, he's sort of like, it could run, but I'm going to trust to it. It's like it almost runs out. We almost get caught, but it looks like there's no one on the road right now.
Right.
So we're going to take the road for a bit.
Let's talk about that later too, because we had a cool conversation earlier about, which we normally never do, but we couldn't help ourselves. Yeah. Like, what will was that?
Yes.
That allowed that kind of stuff to happen, right?
Right, yeah, because I think there's different ones working throughout here.
Yeah.
Like right now, Sam thinking about that thought seems good. Seems like that's a good, like a good, like force.
Right. Yeah.
That's pushing him. But later on, you'll see things that I think, as your points, that maybe it's not what we think.
Yeah, and like, I think we also look at it until we think like any force that allows them to get closer to Mount Doom is good. It's got to be good. Right. But we were talking earlier about how, but wouldn't Sauron also kind of want him to get close because he knows what could happen in the end? Right? Like, it's not just the forces of good that would want to continue to draw them in because of that power in Mount Doom. Like within the mountain itself. Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. As you say, they kind of start off here, and they are, as you say, moving between from hollow to hollow, and things like that. And then we get to the bit where he's trusting to luck again. It nearly failed us the last time, but it didn't quite. A steady pace for a few more miles, and then a rest. He was taking a far greater risk than he knew, but Frodo was too much occupied with his burden and with the struggle in his mind to debate. Yeah. Now that's just one little line, but
and almost too hopeless to care.
Yes.
And almost too hopeless to
care. You're right. And so that you think about, you do get a little insight into Frodo and what the burden that he's bearing.
Yeah.
And how it's weighing him down, and daily you think, wow, they're walking here. No, he has a sword. And he is swinging it, and he is fighting for his life.
Yeah.
And he's fighting for all of Middle-earth.
Yeah.
With every step he takes.
Yeah, dude.
He's fighting.
Yeah.
And that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. So many times in this chapter it mentions that he would put his hand, as you said, over. He would in his fist or whatever. He would hold that ring and he would put it up there. He would make a motion towards it,
and the other hand would be batting away.
Yes, what seemed like blows.
So and that's the other interesting thing too. Is he like clasping it to keep it away from the darkness?
Yeah, right.
Or is he clutching to it because he wants to put it on?
Right.
Like, that's the thing. I love that we don't get that.
Right. And so with either way, you have one hand that is struggling with the power of the ring. The other one is fighting back.
Jeez.
It's just, he's torn, right?
Another thing I love, to back up a little bit, there's this line about how Sauron had moved his forces almost completely out.
Yes.
And even in the fastness of his own realm, he sought the secrecy of night, fearing the winds of the world that had turned. And we're just talking about how the winds had changed. I love that. I just have written down Sauron too fears.
Yes.
And that's an encouraging thought. Like the fact that Sauron is afraid. Because we just get this image that he's like invincible and like it's hopeless, it's hopeless, it's hopeless. Well, if he fears, then there's hope too. Yeah. Like if he's afraid, because we've seen in this story again and again, when fear causes you to react,
right, and
to react quickly and without stopping to think things through. Like Sauron is reactionary,
right,
and he's not thinking about he's So anytime that happens, it leads to doom.
So yeah, and that's actually key. We'll talk here in just a moment about we get a reference to the captains of the West, right?
Yes.
And where they had passed the crossroads and set flames in the deadly fields. So, yeah, he is moving his forces there. He is worried about that. He's very worried. Another great line was the idea that these, let's see if we can find it here, the spies, tidings of bold spies that had passed through his fences. So, wait a second. They're inside. Like, there's something. It actually, from his perspective, right? You have an army marching, and maybe there's a way, and who knows what he's thinking. His mind he could just be whatever he's
Right.
like, you have spies inside of my land, maybe telling him where my troops are and where they're moving,
Yeah.
or what's happening. So
he
all
probably
of a sudden
assumes it
he's-
has to deal with the army.
Yeah, he thinks they're connected. Yeah.
Right.
Right. No,
Which
he
is
would-
another oversight.
He would never think that the ring would be brought inside to him, this close to his own country.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess it makes sense. If you're that powerful and you're that selfish and you're that evil, you're not going to think that something like that could ever touch you.
Right.
Like
right.
that would be a thought. I think it's said perfectly in the movies that the fact that that the ring would be taken into his own lands has not even become a thought in his mind. You know what I mean? I think Gandalf says essentially something like that. I can't remember the exact phrasing, but he says like that he hasn't even, that has not even dawned on him, and wouldn't, because of who he is.
Right.
Okay, we're starting to get this transformation along this page from gray to blacker, black, blank, ever darkening. So we're getting this transition to things aren't looking so good here.
Wow, I'm starting to see it too.
Yeah.
Flat gray stretches, and then
And there was
then the Dark Tower.
Yeah,
and now on
yeah.
the cruel road that led to the Dark Tower itself.
yes,
yeah.
dude. There's this line that I thought it just hit me. It was crazy. For the hobbits each day. This is right after that. You know, you brought up the point about the kings riding north, right?
yeah.
For the hobbits each day, each mile was more bitter than the one before, as their strength lessened and the land became more evil. And I had the underline, and I was like, as their strength lessened and the land became more evil. And I was like, dude, I've never even thought about how more difficult this would even be for hobbits, or how more. I don't know if I said that correctly, but like, think about how much strength hobbits in particular take from the land, from good land.
Yes.
From trees, from grass, from little rivers, from fields of crops, like a love of things that grow. That is at the core of the hobbits as a group of people. And they're continuing into this ever darkening land, like more and more devoid of life. So it's just crazy to think that hobbits gain strength from the land, or, in the Shire.
Yeah.
And
Things that grow and that light and
yes,
Yeah.
and that this is giving Mordor even more like strength against them.
Yeah.
Because of that power they or I don't know, connection they have to.
Yeah. Sure. So
healthier land.
You go back to Sam and his wishes. He wanted water and light.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't want a great sword. He didn't want some great, whatever wizard to come show.
No.
He had what he wished for.
Elements.
Yeah, right.
Elements.
To help him move. Continue. Yeah. No, you're right. I like that. So yeah, we have to note that this land is becoming more and more dark. They are on the road, this cruel road that led to the Dark Tower. And actually, this map is fantastic. And I think
Good, right?
Yeah, I think we should. I think this is. I did a quick search for this and didn't find it.
Yeah.
When I was at school the other day. So this is great.
I can avoid being seen if I wish.
Yeah.
But to find a map entirely, it is a rare gift.
Yeah. So if they stay on this road,
Dude, how fun is this? By the way,
this is really fun.
As we have 2 years ago,
I know.
we started an adventure
Yep.
with the uppers.
Yes.
And it has led to this chapter. And I know the story goes on,
Yes.
but this, dude, is the climax.
Yep.
This is what it's been all about. This was been all for, is to get the ring to this place.
Yes.
And we're here. Like, I
know.
can't believe it, man. Like, this is just in the same way that I think later on it'll come to us when we get there. But Sam talks about the moment was there and everything was coming to a point.
Yes. Right. I know. It all comes. Yeah.
This is
right.
it, man.
This
Like
is it.
I read that and I thought, and this was a couple nights ago. I read that and I thought, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Everything is coming to a point. Like this story, this journey we've been on. You can read these books in a month.
Sure.
You can. But we've turned it into like 2 years of an adventure.
Yes, we have.
And so the anticipation has been greater.
Right.
The like the analysis that uppers bring to every chapter that we spend time trying to pull out, like, has only increased that feeling of, here we go. Here's everything coming to a head.
Well, and we take a fortnight and we think and we ponder on what's happening to our characters. Yep. We go back, we reflect with one another in the group, and we think about, like I guess we're even able to kind of compare notes and take it even deeper and further and make connections to our own life, and it helps inspire us. But at the same time, too, you know, I don't know. As you say, it comes to this.
Yeah.
You know, ultimately here, like here it is, and so here we go. Like it's just. It's why. It's honestly why too. I can't help but I'm glad that when we started off, you know, one of the things I remember doing so much of was looking at the greens and the golds and the colors, you know, and the blues, right, that we saw.
Yep.
We don't see those anymore. And it's very important that you point that out. I can clearly remember you talking about the burning lights that were coming from Tom Bombadil's house. You know, and I like the golden threshold. Yeah. You know, all those other things. Around. All of those things. Yeah. You know, just like and again, Sam mentions here too, where they start thinking about water. He starts thinking about all of the rivers that he had passed and the lakes and all the things. Yeah, and
even like the muddy land that he had stepped in that implied a river was close by, or, you know, on the banks of a stream.
Yeah, and so it's all again led to this. So. But yeah, things are cruel. So at times by night, they cowered or they drowsed uneasily in some, you know, hiding beside the road. They would hear cries and noises of many feet, or swift passing some cruelly hidden steed or ridden steed.
Is this where it talks about too, where they couldn't even necessarily discern what was dream and what was waking?
Yeah, there is like where they
I can't remember where that was. I'm sorry.
Let's see. Maybe. Let me go on here. The dreadful menace of the power that waited brooding in deep thought and sleepless malice behind the dark veil about its throne. Near and near it drew, looming blacker like the oncoming of a wall of night at the last end of the world. Let's see. There came at last a dreadful nightfall, and even as the captains of the west drew near to the end of the living lands, the two wanderers came to an hour of blank despair. Wow, yeah. 4 days had passed since they had escaped from the orcs. Wow. Yeah. So okay. Again, this has been. But oh wait, here. The dreams mentioned. Dreams are mentioned a lot, right? So
yes.
So but time lay behind them like an ever darkening dream. So again, we kind of actually fast forward through. This is where I kind of thought like we don't get every little tiny detail from the time that they left when they were captured by the orcs, and then they skirted off, right? We don't get every single little thing.
True.
No, it seemed as if it was a bad dream, like it was something that did that really happen. Like you can't even remember the road you traveled because it was so dreary and it was so exactly. Trying to like keep awake, you're trying to put one foot in front of the other. You know, you're trying to. You're not getting much sleep. They talk about sleepless nights all the time. And you're right, there is a spot where they talk about the battle that they had in their dreams. Okay. So again, this Sam is perceiving too, he guessed that among all their pains he bore the worst, the growing weight of the ring. He's talking about Frodo. Yeah. A burden on the body and a torment on his mind. So he kept noticing how his left hand would come up and it would be raised to ward off the blows. Yep. These unseen blows, right, that Sam can't really see, or to screen his shrinking eyes from the dreadful eye that sought to look in them. Yep. Man. And then sometimes his right hand would creep to his breast, clutching, and then slowly, as the will recovered mastery, it would withdraw. That's the fight. Yeah. That is the fight.
So I guess that answers my question, right? It's maybe even less to keep it from Sauron. It's him toying with the idea of, do I put it on? Yeah. Because there's that element of escape. When you put it on, you kind of in a way escape, right? Mm-hmm. But it's not. I mean, you actually are totally found out at that point. But that's the false promise that's there.
Dude, here we go.
Yeah, this next stuff is crazy.
Oh my God.
Just that position he's in, man. What an uncomfortable position. When he's sitting there laying down, head sat between his legs, like crouched over, and his hands are twitching.
Yes.
Like that. We don't get enough of that in. I mean, and it's fine. I hate comparing it to the films all the time, but like,
no, I know what you mean.
That is a terrifying visual.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that I think is even more terrifying is that like Sam has always been the encourager, and he's always been able to find the words, find the song, find whatever it was. He found no words.
Yeah.
There was nothing he could say, and he just stared and he watched his master for as long. Just he continued to watch him, and actually imagine like getting to that point where you need there are no words. Like you need to maybe even let the battle. Let Frodo do what he's doing. Be there. Like be present and be near, use proximity, but there's nothing you can say.
Yeah, and sometimes there's nothing to be said. Like what is he supposed Yeah. Yeah, sometimes there is no song. Sometimes there's no word of comfort even. It's just someone being there with you.
Yeah. Well, and here's something too. So okay, where's the right here? So he's watching him. As for himself though, weary and under a shadow of fear, he still had some strength left. Mm-hmm. But he's extremely weary, and he is under, he's got his own fears. This is where we mentioned briefly just that the Lembas had virtue without which they would, without which they would long ago have lain down to die.
Amazing. The elves taking care of them, even here.
And it's like that's why I kind of think about like the cloaks that they're wearing, the file, even Sting's presence, if you will, like all of these other tokens that they have along the way. And those are all good and great and stuff, but like they'll lessen their burden later on, and they'll only care what they need with each other. And eventually, what they're carrying is each other, and it has nothing to do with the things that they were given anymore. They can't rely. Those things can only get you so far. Yeah. And it's like, and I get that, like they were helping to kind of propel, and we need all of us need those in life, like it's worth, I don't know, like whether it's friendship or whatever it may be, or whatever tool or memory or marker along life's journey that pushes us forward, that without those markers and without those moments and those times or those happy times or what have you, boy, we would have laid down to die a long time ago. But we had them. And because we had them, we're able to keep going.
Push this on.
And then when they start to become less and less, then that's when we're going to turn to our internal strength and our fellowship.
Yeah.
And Whew, so.
Yeah. Wow. Also, like the strength of Lembas, that the more you rely on it alone, the greater its potency.
Yes.
Just
they separated.
Yeah,
they separated the foods. They made sure that
they didn't even know that. Like that wasn't something. Yeah, and that wasn't something that they knew, but they were, they were reaping the benefit of that. It's almost kind of, I guess, good that they ran out of other food because they could only. All they had left was the Lembas bread, and because it's all they had left, it was stronger within them. It kept them fuller. It gave them energy in ways it wouldn't have if they mixed it with food.
Yes.
Isn't that incredible?
It is incredible, yeah. So, wow, so they've gotten this far. And again, now I can see really where they're at. So you go back, if you're looking at maybe the 22nd there, they come to this point where they could continue on the road or they can make a straight line for it. And actually, really, they could have continued on the road. That's another path you could have taken. There's that long sort of swing, like that bridge. They describe the bridge that came from, Barad-dûr across to the Mount Doom, right? And then take the road, the Orc road, up and around, and
go
whatever.
Right by the tower.
You have to go right by it. Yeah, it'd be crazy. It'd be suicide almost, right? So it's like here they are. They have a decision to make, and. So it was either, they could not follow this road any longer, for it went on eastward into the great shadow. But the mountain now loomed upon their right, almost due south, and they must turn towards it. Yet still before it, there stretched a wide region, fuming, barren, ash-ridden land. So you're right. I guess I was thinking earlier when we had read that there were those places that they could hide and stuff. This is truly when they look out, and I'm imagining, the vents, and Mountain Doom is not too far off. So
Right,
you've got to have like lava beds and things that are underneath there that are gases that are seeping up through and stuff. So that's sort of what they're seeing as well, that they're going to have to avoid or So but now we turn to water. So he has a bit there for not much left, right?
No.
I mean, he talks about how
half his bottle, maybe.
Yeah. And they were lucky that along this road that they took, there were cisterns, right, that had been built for the use of troops. And that when they were going through, they found, even though it's been muddied up by the orcs, there was still some water left.
Yeah.
And then maybe their haste, they were moving through and it was just left there.
Yep.
So he was able to fill up, right? Otherwise, there would have been no hope. I mean, if they wouldn't have found that, again, that's the luck that Sam sort of refers to along the road. That it just we keep getting a little lucky here, or is it something else, or what is it? Yeah. The other thing I thought about this actually last week when we were doing the chapter before this, and I really thought about I thought about it again here. When there's just nothing else, and there's no hope. And it seems like everything is lost, right? And maybe you're stuck. You're in a spot where you're stuck. Let's say you're on an island. You're stuck there. You're out here, surrounded by enemies, and you're stuck. There is hope in tomorrow. Like what keeps you going is maybe something will come along. Yeah. And if I sit here and I do nothing, now there's a chance that tomorrow will bring somebody by my way, but. The other thing is, too, that you can get up and you can, as much as you can keep moving forward, you double your chances, right? And so what they've done is that every day brings sort of something new, and they're moving and they're continuing on their quest. So, like, when I think of luck and I think of the things that Sam is talking about and that he's encountering along the way, it's sort of like, that's it. That's in the spirit of what these guys are doing. They're not stopping. They're not giving up. And each new day, their hope is... Matter of fact, actually, like, it increases in a sense, right? They're that much closer. Yeah. And you're like, okay. But they don't know.
Isn't it funny? It almost seems like that was easier to see the further away they were. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It seems like earlier on in the journey, they'd make large... it just seems like counter. Like, you're further away and you're making progress. You're like, all right, we're closer. Mm-hmm. There's some hope left. You can see where you need to go. Right. And you're like, I mean, can we even...
I don't know if we're going to get there. Yep.
It's right there. Like, you can see it. Still a ways off, obviously, but you've never before been able to see your destination of where you need to go. Like, there was a point in time where, for a long period of time, you had not laid eyes upon it. And now you're looking at it constantly, trying to think about how you're going to get there. And it's just magnified. The closer you get... like yes, more hope because we've lasted longer, but when you look ahead, you're like, how are we even gonna do? Like, how? Mm-hmm. How is it even possible?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I know. It is weird, isn't it? Right. That.
Yeah. You'd think it'd be like, oh, there. Yep. Here we go.
Right.
Just by seeing that, my hope is renewed, or it's steadfast. And it's like, no, because
and it's not even the sight of it. When they do have renewals or they have spurts of energy, I don't think. That it's even the site of Mount Doom that's closer.
No,
it's something else.
It's other things.
Right.
Yes.
Which is bizarre a little bit. So now here's where I think, dream and waking mingled uneasily.
There it is.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he saw lights like gloating eyes. So they eventually, they kind of bed down a little bit here, and they're trying to get some rest.
The world was all dark, empty blackness. Mm-hmm. Yeah, all about him. So very haunted feeling, like Barrow Downs times a million.
Yeah, I mean, this is, again, just great writing. He saw lights like gloating eyes and dark creeping shapes, and he heard noises as of wild beast or dreadful cries of tortured things. And he would start up to find the world all dark, and as you said, empty and blackness.
Yeah. So
it's like, whatever he's seeing, whatever, it's anything that, even a light that he would see off in the distance or whatever, seemed like it was gloating.
And then, yes, right, yeah, like personifying inanimate things. And just even thinking, is he really seeing those? Where it's, he's, they say or Tolkien says that waking and dream and waking were mingled. Like, what was he really saying? What was like a dream that seemed real only to awaken to find that darkness? Like, or is this an effect of like that land being so tortured that there is some kind of spiritual element that's going on? Like this, it might not be an actual beast that belongs to Sauron. It might not be orcs carrying lanterns or even their footfalls. It could be like the land itself. You know, we've seen that Middle Earth as a character. It could be the earth just having been tormented for so long. And that maybe even the Hobbit's connection to land, like maybe they have a heightened perception of that too. That just gets mixed up in the dream world and them being starving and thirsty and exhausted. That just kind of magnifies it and changes it and makes it all trippy.
Yeah. So, yeah. Here we go. So we talked about weaving and maybe sewing and stuff in the beginning of this.
Oh yeah.
Like now Sauron, we see him weaving shadows. Then this darkness.
Another loom.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it causes, again, Sam knows that he needs to speak to his master. He looks at him and he sees he's reluctant to speak, and he knows that he is warring. I would say this, warring, you know, with himself in this burden, but he needs him to rise and to continue on. He says, "Wake, master," he said. "Time for another start." As if roused by a sudden bell, he rises quickly. But when his eyes beheld the mountain, right, he quailed again. "I can't manage it, Sam," he said. "It's such a weight. It's such a weight to carry, such a weight." Sam knew before he spoke that it was in vain, that such words might not do good, but he does decide. And he says this to him. He says, "Then let me carry it a bit for you, master," he said. "You know I would, and gladly, as long as I have any strength." And then this wild light came into Frodo's eyes. "Stand away. Don't touch me," he cried. "It is mine, I say. Be off." His hand strayed to his sword hilt.
Straight. Like he was going to pull his sword on Sam.
It's dangerous, man. This is dangerous. Man. This is I mean,
madness.
Like
it's madness.
It's life and death right now.
Yeah.
You know, Sam is reluctant to speak, but again, he's compelled to continue to show this compassion and this, I am here for you and I can help. Right. And I think he had to say this one more time. I know people can say, well, you look back to he had interactions with Frodo before. Didn't you learn? No, I think he needed to offer one more time.
Yeah.
And he sees this, right? So, no, Sam, he said sadly. Oh, okay, but then quickly his voice changed.
Yeah.
No, Sam, he said sadly. But you must understand, it is my burden, and no one else can bear it. It is too late now, Sam. You can't help me in that way again. I am almost in its power now. I could not give it up, and if you tried to take it, I should go mad.
And this is like foreshadowing too to the end of this chapter.
Yeah.
Like Frodo's pretty much saying, I mean, not pretty much, he is saying, like, I'm not getting rid of this thing. I'm in its grips.
Right.
And it makes you almost wonder, like, what does Frodo think is going to happen when he gets, like, what is his plan? Is in some recess of his mind, is he thinking, I just got to jump in with it?
Yeah.
I mean, is that going through his mind? Or am I going to have to ask Sam to push me? Or do I know that Sam's going to have to kill me to take the ring? Well, like, what's going to happen? Like, what am I, how am I going to get rid of this thing? Or am I?
Yeah.
Or am I buying time just to put it on myself?
Right.
And like, just think of those thoughts that are constantly like besieging him.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing too. I think sometimes we think, you and I've talked about this, thoughts that come to the mind.
Yeah.
That you have that those, and I'm particularly this,
not thoughts of your own mind.
They did not derive from me.
They did not origin. Yeah.
An evil thought that came into my mind did not originate in me.
Right.
And I think the same thing happens here to Frodo.
Yes.
And that like he didn't. No, he is being attacked.
Yes.
And these thoughts are being sent here, and they are so much more powerful than anything you and I experience, and he has to fend them off. And you see them creep through in some of the words that he says and the actions, his hand sliding to his sword hilt, but he fights them off.
Yep.
And they're stronger than anything we've ever encountered.
Yep.
And I'm speaking for myself. Like, there are people who I'm sure, like, know what we're talking about. The idea that something did not... We had a long talk about this on our way down to Texas.
We did. Yes, we did.
And just the idea, and I actually
how, honestly,
think it's a good point. We talked about... We didn't know if we'd ever bring this up, but, I mean, I think it's a really
it's totally
appropriate
fitting.
spot to talk about it. Like, and, you know, people might think we're crazy, and you might say whatever, but you asked me, had I had those thoughts? Had I had a thought that you didn't think really originated from my soul, from my... And yes, I have. I will say it. And it's a scary thing. And I'm kind of putting myself out here a little bit, but like it's sort of like you're warring with it. You're like, and again, and you might say, "Oh, but that's what's happening to you." No. Yes, it is happening to me. It is not something I'm creating on my own. And I think this is where we do need to remember grace. And like Frodo and Sam has that. Sam has that for Frodo right now.
Oh yeah.
Because imagine, dude, if it's you and me, and you're carrying the ring,
Sure.
and I
snap
see,
on you, and I grab my sword,
and I see you grab your sword and then break out of it, and I'm like, Lane was about to kill me.
Right. Right. Yeah, like I mean, dude, and if nothing else, what it does for Sam is it helps him remember, like, it even deepens his understanding of what Frodo's going through.
Yeah.
And we've talked when we talked about this too, when we talked about like those thoughts that are in, or whatever it is, dude, like whatever, and you're like, that is not me. That did not come from me.
Right.
That's because, like, if you topple, it's extra points.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, there are, like, I know we try to, like, not always put it in a certain, but this is our lens is from a certain spiritual point of view.
Yeah.
And, like, the closer you strive to, the more you strive to be closer to the Creator, the more valuable you are to the enemy. Mm-hmm. Like, that's just what it is. If you do good and do good and do good, and you live your life in a way that you stay in the light, man, that's for the opposite, for the forces of evil, which is exactly what we're talking about here in this book.
Good versus
that's
evil.
Bonus.
Yes.
Like, we want to go get that guy. We want to go get that girl.
Right.
We want them, because that's one less follower, one less player, one less knight or great lady that he has.
Yes. Yep.
And that weakens him or it. You know what I mean? Like, and the other thing too is I think when people have those thoughts, and maybe you shouldn't go tell everybody about those thoughts, or maybe you don't need to tell anyone. No, but if you feel like you need to, and you have someone you can trust, you should. Yeah. And that's okay to do, because and you shouldn't be judged for that. Like, thoughts that are put into your head that do not come from you.
No, you're in it again. Putting ourselves. I'm putting myself out here.
It's just,
like,
but
the thing
hey,
is,
we're on it. Like,
I'll call it this. I'll say light and dark. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
And I like, if you're a captain of the light, and you have been struck. If everything that they've thrown at you hasn't worked before, they're going to try
something else.
Yes. Yep. And they're going to come at you and attack you in that way. And wow, if we could bring that captain down, if we could bring him or her down.
Yep.
Yeah, like, here we go. And it's like, wow. And sometimes you do need, I think, and it's why we have our fellowship and our friendship, our brotherhood, where we kind of are able to talk like that.
Yeah,
and
because that gives you strength.
Yes, it does.
I think that knowledge and seeing it that way, and for the
I'm not in this fight alone.
Yes, and seeing that that's a fact, that it's only because you're valuable.
Yep.
That you are valuable.
Yep.
Like, just by being alive, you're important.
Right, because a lot of times, I'm sorry to interrupt, but a lot of times that thought would skid across our mind, and we would think, I'm weak.
Yes,
and that's what they want you to think.
That's exactly right. Because then you just think, well, I mean, and then that leads to other thoughts.
And I don't care what framework you put it in, whether I keep saying
religion,
light or
what
dark,
faith, whatever.
I think, and again, just my opinion, that there is something there, and again, regardless of the framework, that's a fight. That's the purpose of that, is to make you think, I faltered in some way. but to be able to share, if somebody else knew that, that happens to you, or
think of the strengthening.
Yes,
that is. Yeah. Right.
Well, then you know what? We need to.
We're in this together.
Right.
We can help each other.
Or you start to think, well, why is that happening now?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Why is it I've lived my life like this for years, and I've lived in the light. I've did all these different, why is this coming on me so strong now?
Yeah.
It's because of all those years.
Yeah. It's because they let that happen. They let you grow strong. Like they waited. They picked their time. Like that's the other thing.
Or they've tried to attack for years and those attacks didn't work. So now they're coming at you with
something different.
Both,
right.
either one.
Yeah.
So it's a conversation we had, and I never knew where to weave it in, but it seems like
it's perfectly here.
It does. It seems like Frodo is fighting off these thoughts.
Because do you think back in the Shire, Frodo ever would have imagined a scenario where this happens?
No, I don't. I think the Dark Lord sent everything he had after Frodo and the ring. Specifically, and nothing, and so now we're close. And the trap, the snare, I call it almost like the darkness that they're in is so dark that it's not even really that Sauron is focusing and sees them and says, "I'm going to attack them directly." He's already laid all the traps.
Yep.
The closer you get to me and try to win this fight, it is going to be harder and harder and harder.
Yep. And that thing around your neck, which is part of me,
and
has a will of its own, is going to use an offer for help. To try and drive you apart.
Yes. Right. Yeah. That's wild.
Like literally the most selfless thing Sam could have done.
Right.
Was to say, hey, I'll take this really awful thing
off
of you
and
put it on myself.
Right.
And not out of any desire to have the ring.
Right.
Even though when he did pass it, this is the power of the ring, man.
Yeah.
When he did pass it back to Frodo, remember that reluctance.
Yes. Well, and here's the thing, too. What I think is key is that Sam, this entire time, has been telling us, the reader, and has been acknowledging how awful this thing is and how it's destroying his good friend and his master. But yet he's willing to take it from him. And you're right. That offer of help is what is like. That's almost like what you think would be a good thing, and the darkness would use it against you.
Yeah, distorts it.
One of your weapons that we in the light have been given, is to offer aid and help, and to have the dark pervert that and turn it against us is wild.
Well, I mean, even back to what we were talking about, those thoughts, right? Or those whatever temptations, even I think are another thing. Another way that scene we're just talking about is illustrated is, I've had these. Mm-hmm. I can't. That's terrible. You need help.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awful.
Right.
Like, how could you have those thoughts?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
How could you be tempted by that?
Yeah.
That kind of like shaming and thinking like, well, I would never.
Mm-hmm.
I would never.
Right.
Well, good for you. Like maybe you're delusional.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're, I don't know.
Count your blessings.
Yeah, you're different than I am. Or maybe it hasn't happened yet.
Maybe it hasn't happened yet. And that's a good way to look at it, because what I almost said is.
Or maybe the enemy doesn't have to use such drastic measures with you.
That's what I was going to say.
That's the other thing too. Like,
and I don't mean
to think
to be
that we're
and
to think that we're like above that somehow. I don't see that as a part of the fellowship.
No.
I see the fellowship as honoring honesty and treating it with compassion. Like that's what it's all about.
Well,
I see it in this group every day.
Yeah.
Like, and I see it in other walks of life and other circles that I'm in and other friendships and groups. Like that is the thing that when that's not taken care of, more problems happen, and you feel a victory for darkness or whatever.
Yeah.
You feel the world lose some light.
Right. Yeah. You have to wonder with those who are being attacked, and you think about their spirits, and you wonder why. And it's because instead of saying, well, it must be just they're bad, or in some way they're weak or whatever, they must be great and very powerful in the light.
Yeah.
For them to send that type of attack against that person.
Yes, it's
true.
True.
And I think that would then give you that great, having whether it's grace or whether it's just sort of compassion towards that person and saying, I need to go stand next to him.
Yeah.
I need to step up. And I need to know that when I do, they're coming for me too. So anyways, I don't know. But because people will, the same thought that you had is the weakness that, and the dark wants us to think that that's weak. And by me going over and stepping with that person, associating, well, then everybody else around me, the crowd that I left and walked away from to go help one who was under attack, may think now the same thing about me. Yeah. And it just sort of continues to be a very, that's why it's a battle.
Yeah.
So, all right. Here we are. So, then Sam says to him, he understands. He says,
you're right. That's how he answers.
I understand. But I've been thinking, Mr. Frodo, that there are other things we might do without. Why not lighten the load a bit? We're going that way now as straight as we can make it. And this is like you said, where they just cut straight across the land. Yeah. And they decide to take off the orc shield, right? Or the other things that
extra,
baggage garb or whatever they have, right?
Right down to his cooking gear, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. And I thought it was great too. That his prized cooking gear, things that reminded him of home.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to let Smeagol or anybody else touch those,
right?
Or nothing. If
throw them and destroy them.
They're destroyed. I'm going to throw them away, and that was his intent, right? I mean, whatever. Like the idea is, I don't want anybody touching these. It's now they're gone,
and it's almost kind of
this is the end,
and it's like Sam's moment of, like the whole goal is to throw in this evil thing and destroy it, and Sam has to throw away. Because he doesn't want it sullied or soiled by anyone else, he has to throw away this precious item to him into this, like this fissure, this crack that where it will be destroyed, and knowingly just throwing it in.
Well, and think about that. Things that that was something that, like, material things that we hold on to that are weighing us down, and that by doing that he's throwing that off, and he's able to help his friend and carry him the rest of the way,
Another selfless thing he does.
Yeah. Right? So, okay. Here we go.
Do you remember? Do the sex part. Can I read the Sam, then you read the Frodo?
Yes.
Do you remember that bit of rabbit, Mr. Frodo? He said, "And our place under the warm bank in Captain Faramir's country, the day I saw an Oliphant?"
No, I'm afraid not, Sam, said Frodo. At least I know that such things happened, but I cannot see them. No taste of food, nor feel of water, no sound of wind, no memory of tree or grass or flower, no image of moon or star are left to me. I am naked in the dark, Sam, and there is no veil between me and the wheel of fire. I begin to see it even with my waking eyes, and all else fades. He can't even, he knows that such things happened, but even when you want to recall, I often think about life as like these milestones and these markers and these good memories and thoughts that you can go back to in great times of need, and they will help, move you forward and give you whatever you need to kind of move forward. And you draw upon what was learned and the strength that you gained from that milestone in that moment, and you move forward. Frodo can't even think back to even just good times, just even the memory, like nothing, not the taste of water, food, nothing.
Yeah.
So
and we just saw how it even affected the way he sees one right beside him.
Yeah. Yep.
It's affecting even the way he sees Sam.
Yep.
Because we saw it from kind of a third person or Sam's perspective, but we didn't see it how, I think that's one of the ways that we look at Frodo. We're like, geesh, man, like, whoa, like you're going to try and kill Sam, but we don't know what those words sounded like. We don't know how he even saw. Like, was there a distorted visual that he had of Sam too? Mm-hmm. Did he perceive something that wasn't even really there?
Right.
Man.
Right. Yeah. So he's starting to realize too that he mutters to himself that, talking does no good. It's doing no good. And he's like, we don't have time. And so he's lightening their load. He casts these things off. He does take a bit of the elven rope, and he ties that around Frodo's waist and gets that cloak really secure around him. It's sort of the hearing this pans, falling down, just sort of like really hits him.
Death knell to his heart.
Yeah. Right. So
his precious pans. That word is used.
Yeah.
I didn't realize,
is it really? Yeah.
Precious pans.
Wow. And so you think about what he has left, right? So he has their whey bread, the water bottle, Sting is there hidden away. He has the phial of Galadriel and the little box that she gave him for his own.
Yeah.
So that's it. I mean, they are. Here we go. Here we go. So now they're faced towards the mountain and they're heading directly south. Okay, so this is
Isn't it
where,
interesting too? Even sorry, any other? This just hit me. Any other, like, if you look at their path, they literally go north, east, and even more east, and then things are literally going south.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
If they would have gone from any other point from Cirith Ungol, it wouldn't have gone south. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, even in the direction he's showing us, like, things are gonna continue to get bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I see that. Yep. Yeah. So the only thing, and he says here too, the only, like, I guess, dark creature, or that could have maybe saved him, that could have saved the Dark Lord, he had sent the Nazgul on to face down what he thought was this threat.
Right.
And that, had they just been around, had he left one or two of them there searching the sky, they might have spotted him. They might have been able to come across him. But yeah,
Well, I was remembering. I was going to bring that. We got sucked into beautiful conversation.
What do you got?
Like a page earlier, at least in my book, when it was talking about the haunted land, all those, the empty blackness and the scoffing lights and all this stuff, we get that first glimpse of Gollum again too.
Yes.
Did you talk about that?
No, I didn't. But
I love how he mixes it in with all that other stuff, so that you could either, like, in hindsight, you
might miss it.
The pale eyes, pale lights like eyes, that flicker and then disappear.
Yeah,
and we're thinking, oh, it's just another part of the first time reading, and because it's a reread, we're like, that's Gollum.
Yep.
So at least some of that, I guess, is real that he was seeing, and it's like that hint that the only one, and we get more breadcrumbs as we go on, but like that he's still out there, he's not dead, and that he's tracking them and following them. But yeah, I'm sorry, the ring wraiths have been called off to.
Yeah. Well, I think it is. I'm glad you brought that up, because I actually read that and I just thought, oh yeah, and I didn't. That's important to mention that along the way, because we just had a moment where Sam is thinking of Gollum and saying, I don't want old stinker to be touching any of my stuff, and so I'm not gonna leave it out here for anybody to touch. That stuff's gone. Yeah. So there's that, or use it even against him, or whatever.
Pot over the head or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
True.
So there's that. Just a quick mention that, again, the troops and everyone in the Nazgul are northwest here, facing the captains of the west. And let's see. That day it seemed to Sam that his master had found some new strength, more than he could explain by the small lightening of the load that they had to carry. So they lighten the load, he finds a bit more strength. But as the day wore on, and all too soon the dim light began to fail, Frodo stooped again and began to stagger.
Play on the word light there too. Lightening of the load, and then the dim light that comes through that gives them strength, because they aren't carrying as much, but also the sight of light. And that's okay. And again, gray to black to now light. Yeah, teetering. Right, and I feel like we've said this a million times in different chapters where it's crap. What was the word we've used? Like, it's just you're uncertain, like which way is this gonna go? Not hitting me. But anyway,
it is stolen from you.
Yeah, right. This happens to Frodo like several times. Every time, I have it written in the margins, every time that there's light, or we see light, or light breaks through, there's urgency, there's renewed energy.
Yeah.
And there's something to that, man. I mean, there's something there. I don't know exactly what, but there's something there.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and that's the mastery of his writing too. As you said, the Greys have now turned against us, and they weren't bringing hope. in the gray company.
Right.
And then we get darker weavings of shadows. But moments of dim light do renew our strength a little bit.
And it's not even pure light; it's dim. So
Yes.
there's still a grayness to it. There's an uncertainty to it. There's
Right. Right. But it only takes you so far, and so at last, he's thirsty. He says to Sam, "I'm thirsty." And he did not speak again. Sam gave him a mouthful of water. Only one more mouthful remained. Oh boy. So, and this is where we get that thought, right? And he thinks back to Rosie, right? And Jolly Cotton and Tom and Nibs, just being in the pool at Bywater, and the cool mud about their toes and these different things that Frodo, again, can't
remember,
right? But these are, and he's by his side. He's there to help him, and these are things he's drawing upon, these memories, to help him. What a crazy thing too. And we talked a little bit about, before we started this, about what and how real that probably was to Tolkien and those who fought in the Great War.
Yeah.
And who, did pull upon those memories of home.
Yeah.
That kept them, that helped them get a little sleep at night.
And also how part of them was probably a lot like Frodo, like being there so long and seeing such destruction that you'd forget what was home even like what was grass like. Remember that movie, how it talked about just the torment to the earth it was, that there was definitely no grass. Right. That they reshaped the topography.
Yes.
Of miles and miles and miles of the area that was, that dividing line, the trenches that went back and forth, and it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I'm sure that had to have been, and I know that he says this some places, but that was like an inspiration for Mordor of what, like the destruction and cruelty to the land.
Mm-hmm. Yep. When I imagine too that they had these same debates that Sam is having, right, about what to do here. Yeah. Like you're thinking about what is the plan? What do we know? What don't we know?
Right.
And this is where I said there was this internal warfare going on. So we already covered it with Frodo. Yeah. And there was a little bit. I said it would weave itself back in. We had a moment of it in the beginning of this chapter, and again now here, he's telling himself, "Don't be a fool, Sam Gamgee." Came an answer in his own voice. "He won't go another day like that if he moves at all, and you can't go on much longer giving him all the water and most of the food. I can go on a good way, though, and I will." "Where to?" "To the mountain, of course." "But what then, Sam Gamgee? What then? When you get there, what are you going to do? He won't be able to do anything for himself." And then actually, to his dismay, Sam realizes, "I don't even know where to go."
Yeah. This conversation struck me. I think that he has, I can't remember, man, because it's been a while, but I feel like he's had a conversation like this before, maybe back in the Two Towers, beginning of Return of the King. No, Two Towers, I think, where it's very like Smeagol Gollum-esque. It's his own version of. It's a way that he and Gollum are kind of like light and dark sides of each other. And I guess it also normalizes some of the conversations that Gollum has. Because it's the same kind of thing. Like it's the Smeagol side and the Gollum side. It's like his hope and his despair, or like you said, are battling inside of him, and he's one is trying to best the other. Right. He's trying to gain mastery within himself of either we're going to just hold on to hope or we're giving up all the way. Because this middle ground is torment to try and navigate. And it's crazy. It's crazy because it ties into, I think, a decision, and maybe not even consciously, maybe subconscious, a decision he makes later where he has pity on Gollum. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he ever makes that connection that, wow, these conversations I'm having sound a lot like just my version of what I've heard Gollum have, debating whether to remember when he's standing over Frodo and talking to himself,
absolutely.
and Sam hears that, and then even before, like when Sam is trying to figure out what he should do, if he should tell his master about things that he's heard or not, or like what's going on with his master, and like we've had so many conversations that are a lot like what Gollum Smeagol has. It's fascinating, dude. Like it's fascinating that he. What?
So
like
you're thinking
character development is crazy,
and you're thinking that because Sam has this similar back and forth, that maybe it is what causes him to have because he hasn't had pity.
But that's maybe and maybe that's just me as a reader.
Yeah,
maybe that's just me as a reader. Maybe maybe that's not what's informing his decision. Maybe it's just that moment where he doesn't, and I think it even says he doesn't even know why.
Right.
But he feels like it's just not the right thing to do.
Well, and I also think, too, that he has been, that's right. It's not the right thing to do. Yes. I would say even further, he has been seeing. Okay. He saw his master.
Yeah.
He saw his hand slide to his sword hilt.
The parallels. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he saw what he knows, how good and true his master is.
Right. The parallels to what Frodo's experiencing, to what Gollum must have experienced in the past, even, or just him having an intimate realization of what that battle's like.
Right. Yeah, it's.
I mean, whatever causes that pity, because I don't think he knew those words of Gandalf. Those were spoken to Frodo that he might, and like we said, maybe he overheard that when he was trimming the verge.
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe that was something that got in there, or that Frodo told him along the way that we didn't even know about, but that he could play some part for good or ill.
Yeah. Right. Yep. Well, and so this whole bit where there's the back and forth, but he goes. Everyone's who have an answer. He goes back and forth, and eventually, let's see. There you are, came the answer. It's all quite useless, he said to himself. You are a fool, going on hoping and toiling. You could have lain down and gone to sleep together days ago if you hadn't have been so dogged. But you'll die just the same or worse. You might just as well lie down now and give up. You'll never get to the top anyway.
See, I mean, listen to that voice. Does that not sound like Gollum?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it does.
Gollum doesn't say anything worse than what Sam's dark side pessimism is saying right there. Like, just give up and die is what he's saying to himself.
Yes,
like,
I know. And again, so eventually,
thoughts that are placed there, that aren't his,
that are not his. I know it's going on.
That's not Samwise. It's because of his circumstances and where he is, and the odds that are stacked against him and his master. That's why those have any kind of legitimacy. In any other context. I mean, what? No, come on, get out. But like here, he's they're in his head, and they're a part of a dialogue.
Yep. And what's great though is that he went. This is what wins out. I'll get there if I leave everything but my bones behind," said Sam.
The utter resolve, man.
Yep. "And I'll carry Mr. Frodo up myself if it breaks my back and heart. So stop arguing."
And that's the other thing too, man. When we talk about those conversations, you have that power that's been given to you.
Yep.
To say, shut up.
Yep.
Leave me alone. Get out.
Yep.
Like, and if you got to call on the name of the higher power, do it.
Yep.
I have no power here.
Oh boy.
Dude,
okay.
This is like we gotta break the tension somehow. You gotta touch my feet or something, bro.
This is legit. So the last stage of their journey. Here we go. Let's see. Oh boy, this is just a bunch of
stuff. Yeah.
Just description here of the pain that they're in, how parched they are.
Yep. Black skies.
Right.
Shimmer of lightnings, though.
Yeah.
So
right.
Shafts of light.
Breathing was painful and difficult. They'll talk later about how it gets better as they actually climb and get higher. Yet their wills did not yield as they struggled on.
Oh.
So the mountains creeping ever near. With a gasp, Frodo cast himself on the ground. Sam sat beside him. To his surprise, he felt tired, but lighter, and his head seemed clearer. No more debates disturbed his mind. He knew all the arguments of despair and would not listen to them. His will was set, and only death would break it. Now,
dude,
hold on. Let me write that one down. His will was set, and only death would break it. Wow.
I actually I typed this out and sent it to Sarah because I just thought it was so. we all have debates in our mind. We all have like we were just talking about those voices where you are filled with anxiety or whatever. But it's like he just said, nah, like I'm set. And this paragraph, dude, it begins with a gasp and it ends with a gasp.
Yes.
With a gasp, Frodo casts himself. So a gasp of like kind of exhaustion, maybe even defeat. And it ends with one last gasp, like how you, like in my mind, I think like a deep breath before a plunge, before a final sprint, right? So one of defeat and then one of resolve.
Oh, it keeps coming back
in this paragraph. Yeah,
they're gasping for air multiple times.
Yeah.
So that I'm glad you pointed that. That's really really good, right? So he goes to find that Frodo is cold and trembling, shivering. This night, it seems like it won't end. First of all, but then even as it does, right? He's Frodo's. He's left behind their blankets and everything. Sleep finally did take him, right? And he ends up laying there side by side. He kind of uses his body to give Frodo some warmth. And eventually, like they wake together, right? And here we go. Now for it. Now for the last gasp, said Sam as he struggled to his feet.
Before that, too, did you catch that sun is capitalized?
Oh, wow. Slowly the light of the unseen sun filtered into the shadows.
So personifying the sun there, or...
Whoa.
It's crazy, right?
Where the hobbits lay. Didn't say it was everywhere. Right?
Right?
What
is that, dude?
It didn't say
Tolkien, what are you doing, man?
Yeah. Right. And so,
it's cool, isn't it?
Again, that's the inspiration, right? There's light again, back to kind of give them this, renewed whatever.
Yeah, you're right. There it is. The light paralleling the burst of energy, the resolve, the last gasp.
Right. So he raised his eyes with difficulty to the dark slopes of Mount Doom, and here we go. Yeah. Sam looked at him and wept in his heart, but no tears came to his dry and stinging eyes. I said I'd carry him. If it broke my back, he muttered, and I will. Come on, Mr. Frodo, he cried. I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you.
Jeez, man.
And it is well. So up you get. Come on, Mr. Frodo, dear. Sam will give you a ride. Just tell him where to go, and he'll go. And what's amazing, too, is he thought that this would be a heavy load, a great burden. He actually even goes on to say that he thinks that the ring, even by carrying Mr. Frodo, would have weighed him down.
Right.
But the opposite.
He felt the burden light. Also, maybe even, all right, so maybe this was, what was I saying before, that it was all on, but maybe this is a thought I had. I didn't even remember doing this until I wrote it down, or I read that I wrote it down, when it says, but it was not so, I thought that this is the medicine. This is the antidote to the power of the ring, is that friendship, love, the loyalty, the companionship. Because up to this point, Frodo he's been resistant to help, help all the way. And here it is, not only just emotional and spiritual support and help, but physical.
Right.
Like they are bound together here.
Yep.
And maybe that's why the burden's light, because that is the exact opposite. We saw before when Sam offered to help in a physical way by carrying the weight, that it drove Frodo to wanting to, or thinking about drawing his sword out to kill Sam, to stay, or at least wound him to stay away. And here we have a physical show of help that lightens the load.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Maybe
there's some magic there. I mean, it's wild.
Right. And Frodo thanks him, right? He thanks him like in this cracked whisper, but how far is there to go? He doesn't know. He doesn't know where to go. But I mean, he took him quite a way.
Yeah.
He looked back and he looked up and he was amazed to see how far his last effort had brought him. I think he's like almost halfway up. They say like the base.
Oh yeah. When he couldn't believe how far up he'd gotten. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. He was already halfway up the base. And he's able to kind of look back on the
gray slopes.
Yeah.
Gray again.
Right.
In this page we have, I think it's on this page. We have gray to black to gray to gleam.
Really?
Just within a page.
Okay. So here we go. This is, I think we're about to the part where he's going to, they lay here for a little bit. And gosh, gather your strength a little bit, whatever it may be. He lays on his back. His back was hurting a bit, but the path.
Yeah, it's unclear, isn't it?
Right?
At first, right?
Yeah, at first he doesn't, not sure what it is, but here it is. There must be a purpose to it.
Yeah.
I'd say that it was.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Before, he could not see the course immediately above him, and then he's able to struggle up further.
Yes,
that's what you're saying, right?
Yeah,
and then he could see the road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So he's finally able to kind of see this. And to go back a little bit, all Sam remembers is the cracks of doom, and he remembers sort of like that's all he can really think of. But now here we hear about this the idea that Sauron's road from Barad-dûr, right, was leading to the chambers of fire. Yep. That there was this huge western gate that came over a deep abyss by a vast bridge of iron. So this is what we said, if you would have came by the Dark Tower and came across this iron bridge and all that kind of stuff, you maybe could have taken this road, but instead,
right
boom,
there. Yep.
They're getting right up onto, this,
that road.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm. There they are. So, a little shortcut, right? A little shortcut across. Yeah. But they find it. It's gives them another little bit of hope, I would say.
Yeah.
So let me see here real quick. But they catch a sight of the Dark Tower, and they actually see the fire, the gleam, the eye looking out in this high window. It's different. It's actually described. It's much different.
Yes.
It almost seems concealed in a tower, and actually I can more so just sort of see. Like, it seems like that from what I'm reading. Like there's a window that this light is shooting out, and the eye is looking in the direction of, like the Black Gate, like north, towards.
Do you want to read
these
it?
Captains here. Go for it.
Is it but torn by some gust of wind out of the world, or else moved by some great disquiet within the mantling cloud? Am I reading the right part?
Mm-hmm.
The mantling clouds swirled, and for a moment drew aside, and then he saw rising blacker and darker than the vast shades amid which it stood, the cruel pinnacles and iron crown of the tipmost tower of Barad-dûr. One moment only it stared out, but as from some great window immeasurably high, there stabbed northward a flame of red and the flicker of a piercing eye. And then the shadows were furled again, and the terrible vision was removed. The eye was not turned to them. It was gazing north to where the captains of the west stood at bay, and thither all its malice was now bent, as the power moved to strike its deadly blow. But Frodo, at that dreadful glimpse, fell as one stricken mortally. His hand sought the chain about his neck. Sam knelt by him, faint, almost inaudibly. He heard Frodo whispering, "Help me, Sam, help me. Hold my hand. I can't stop it."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Isn't that wild? Yeah. It's kind of a scary, just, to be that close that you could see it.
Yeah, and Sam thinks that they've been spotted and that they're donezo.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's all up.
Yeah, let me see here. I see there. Okay.
And he picks him up and carries him again.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Hold on to my hand. He can't stop it. Right. The thought came to him. He spotted us. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh! And then this is where Gollum.
Yep.
Right here, man.
It's all up, or soon it will be. Now, Sam Gamgee. This is the end of ends. This is the end of ends. Oh boy. Yeah.
Not ready for this.
So yeah. There's some desperation here. Just in that they're that close to see the eye. I mean, look. I mean, to be that close to the darkest of the dark, like the Dark Lord, and you're that close, you are sneaking by. Okay, so again, he lifted Frodo and he drew his hand down. This is, as you say. Yeah, this is where there's the first sort of attack by Smeagol. Yeah. He's saying to me, the wicked master cheats Smeagol. He mustn't go that way. He mustn't hurt Precious. Give it to Smeagol. Yes, give it to us. And this is, there's This is where Sam kind of, as we just said, the mercy does sort of win out here, but he fights him. He fights him off.
Yeah.
Where is that exactly?
And this is crazy because before that even, because he's on Frodo and Sam heaves up with this violence, and at once he drew his sword but could do nothing. Gollum and Frodo were locked together.
That's right. Yeah.
And so we had this moment where we saw Sam enlarged, and like the very beginning of the chapter, he's almost like he's this giant made of stone. His resolve was so strong, and here we get this image of like Frodo. It does. Well, I'll just read it. Right. I mean, Gollum was tearing at his master, trying to get at the chain of the ring. This was probably the only thing that could have roused the dying embers of Frodo's heart and will. So again, something intended for evil.
Yeah.
Gives Frodo strength.
That's right. Yep.
And the only thing, an attack, an attempt to wrest his treasure from him by force. He fought back with a sudden fury that amazed Sam and Gollum also. Even so, things might have gone far otherwise if Gollum himself had remained unchanged. But whatever dreadful paths, lonely and hungry and waterless, he had trodden, driven by a devouring desire and a terrible fear, they had left grievous marks on him. He was a lean, like we thought he was this way before.
Yeah.
So imagine him even more so.
Right.
A lean, starved, haggard thing, all bones and tight-drawn, sallow skin. A wild light flamed in his eyes, but his malice was no longer matched by his old gripping strength. Frodo flung him off and rose up quivering. Down, you creeping thing, and out of my path. Your time is at an end. You cannot betray me or slay me now.
Oh, shoot.
Sam.
Oh, shoot.
Like,
hold on. Yeah.
Then suddenly,
Go ahead.
Then suddenly, as before, under the eaves of the Emyn Muil, so transported back to that time when Gollum first, came after him, Sam saw these two rivals with other vision. A crouching shape, scarcely more than the shadow of a living thing, a creature now wholly ruined and defeated, yet filled with a hideous lust and rage, and before it stood stern, untouchable now by pity, a figure robed in white, but at its breast it held a wheel of fire. Out of the fire there spoke a commanding voice. Begone and trouble me no more. If you touch me ever again, you shall be cast yourself into the fire of doom. Like prophecy there. But like the crazy thing, right? Like this is where this whole thought kind of came to me, where you would think every force that allowed Sam and Frodo to get closer to Mount Doom is forces of good.
Yeah.
And maybe so. But this to me is Sauron's voice. This is Sauron knowing that Gollum would only delay his reclamation of the ring. If Gollum got the ring, he's not getting it back anytime soon. If Frodo puts the ring on, and the closer he gets, the irony is the closer he gets to Mount Doom, the stronger that temptation is, then it's his, right? That's just what it might not even be right, but that's just what was hitting me. So, like, what gives Frodo strength here is partially that threat to his treasure, as it says here, but I also wonder if that isn't like, well, I guess it's tied. It's one and the same, right? That's Sauron. That is, in a sense, giving him strength. That's the way I read that. Whoa. Because Sauron wants it to get closer.
Right, but yeah, okay, so here's something. Now we're going to slow this down a little bit because...
Sure. Yeah, it goes fast.
So, as you say, then suddenly, as before, right, he's taken back to seeing these two rivals. He sees them, Frodo, right? And he sees Gollum. They were fighting. This crouching shape, scarcely more than the shadow. And I think he's talking about Gollum there.
Yep, right.
Of a living thing and a creature now wholly ruined and defeated.
Yes.
Now wholly ruined.
Yes.
And defeated. Yet filled with a hideous lust and rage. That's who he sees. That's what he sees in Gollum.
Gollum, right.
And before Gollum, or before it, stood stern, untouchable, now by pity. So now hold on a second. Before it stood stern, untouchable now by pity. So pity was the thing that had that was something Frodo was offering.
Right.
Like now that seems to be untouchable. A figure robed in white, but at its breast it held a wheel of fire, and out of the fire spoke a commanding voice. Be gone and trouble me no more. If you touch me ever again, you shall be cast yourself into the fire of doom. The crouching shape backed away, terror in its blinking eyes, and yet at the same time, insatiable desire. Then the vision passed, and Sam saw Frodo standing, hand on breast, his breath coming in great gasp. So whether the ring wasn't on, maybe, but like he's got it in his grasp, that really happened. That really happened.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. That was the power of the ring.
Yes.
So actually, really, the effects of the ring and what the lasting effect that it had on Gollum and Smeagol ends up being its own sort of undoing.
And what the voice threatens.
Yeah.
Does happen.
Yeah.
But the voice doesn't suspect or expect that the ring would also be with him.
Yeah.
As that happened. And the only thing that makes me think like that's Sauron's voice is because it's
his spirit in the
and because he says out of the fire. Mm-hmm. Didn't come out of Frodo's mouth.
Yeah. Oh no.
Out of the fire spoke a commanding voice.
Yeah.
Can you imagine seeing this?
Literally, that is the ring coming to life.
Yes.
That is exactly what that is. Like,
but I think if you read this quickly, you're like, whoa, Frodo, dang man.
I know. Yeah, right.
It's like, and maybe it's the ring using his mouth. Like maybe.
Regardless, it spoke from the ring of fire.
Right.
Where it
exactly.
came
Exactly.
From. The commanding voice came from there.
I see it as like either a disembodied voice or a possession.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, either one. Either one.
Either way is crazy. It's freaking crazy.
Yeah, and I more like to see it as the disembodied, voice. Like I just see. I honestly just see that figure. No,
yes.
It's just the call. It's literally the ring woke up and said, "Back off,"
and that,
don't touch me.
And that Gollum has terror yet insatiable desire.
Yeah.
His entire existence.
And that's the problem.
In relationship to the ring.
So that's the problem. Yes, in one regard, the ring is using the power, like its nature, to drive you off. But at the same time, this is someone who has possessed the ring.
Yes. Right.
And what you did to this individual causes it to have this extended life that it will never stop hunting and searching for you.
Yeah.
And as long as it can keep it from the Dark Lord, it will.
And
It'll
the fate,
do.
yes, and the fate of the ring and this shadow figure, Gollum.
Yeah.
They're intertwined.
They're actually, intertwined. And I'm not. I don't think this really happens, but it actually makes me think all the way back to this chapter when Frodo has his arm up and he's batting away those blows or whatever, but he's also the same image. He has his hand clutched around the ring and he's batting away whatever is fighting him. And now I feel like you got to see through Sam this vision. It's almost like he saw through the veil, like as if something was there.
Lifted.
Yeah,
yep,
and he was able to truly see what, like the invisible warfare that was going on around Frodo. This has been happening all the whole way. Now we got to see it because it was almost like the ring let its guard down and it lashed out at Gollum, But then we got to see, holy, this is what Frodo's been dealing with. Like, look, look at this.
Or even
I'm just throwing out ideas.
Yeah, or because like this was such a real threat.
Mm-hmm.
Like Gollum could have gotten that ring back very realistically. Like knocked Sam on the head, Frodo's weak, and the ring has to like wake Frodo up and speak out to shock Gollum, essentially. Right? And isn't this where Frodo just takes off?
Takes off, yeah. I must go on. Farewell, Sam. This is the end at last. On Mount Doom shall fall. Farewell. He turned and went on, walking slowly. I mean, he's telling him, "Look out, Master."
He's not running, I guess. Yeah, sure.
He's going to spring. You know, and he pulls out his sword. And
where he has that moment.
He's standing between him, right, and saying, here we. I mean, now said Sam, at last I can deal with you. At last, I can deal with you.
This is what he's been waiting for.
Yeah.
There were times where he was longing for this moment.
And I didn't expect, you don't expect Gollum to do this. But he knows that they've had pity on him before.
Yes.
And he knows the nature of these hobbits.
And that's the hard thing about Gollum is, you're right. Is he manipulating?
Yeah.
Or is this Smeagol coming out again?
Yeah.
Like is Smeagol so far gone? Like that Smeagol only exists as a tool for Gollum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right.
Dude, it's tragic, man.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Don't kill us, he wept. Don't hurt us with his nasty, cruel steel.
Yep,
yeah.
we're lost.
Let us live. Right. Yeah. It's.
And when Precious goes, we'll die. Yes, die into the dust.
He's right.
Oh, God, I love this. Can I read this next paragraph or whatever?
No, you read it.
Sam's hand wavered. His mind was hot with wrath and the memory of evil. Right, that almost just happened. Not to mention distant. It would be just to slay this treacherous, murderous creature. Just and many times deserved. And also, it seemed the only safe thing to do. But deep in his heart, so that's where it comes from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Deep in his heart. Oh my gosh, dude. So many emotions. Deep in his heart, there was something that restrained him. He could not strike this thing lying in the dust, forlorn, ruinous, utterly wretched. He himself, though only for a little while, had borne the ring, and now dimly he guessed the agony of Gollum's shriveled mind and body, enslaved to that ring, unable to find peace or relief ever in life again. But Sam had no words to express what he felt.
Yeah.
He says, "Curse you and be off, or I shall hurt you."
Right.
With nasty, cruel steel. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, as you say, it's something deep in his heart. I think it's a combination, right? He himself had understood he had bore the ring himself. You wonder, had he not have, would he have had as much,
Probably
not. It seemed like it was a very, very, very close here. Like
I think that probably not confused him, but widened his view.
It does. And then he's seen his master, what he's going through, a good man that he sees being just turned and fighting this warfare. So yeah, it's tough, but he does, and eventually, Gollum gets away here.
Dude, isn't this what it's all about?
Yeah, man.
This I want to stay in this moment.
Oh, it's
for a long.
We're here, man.
Time.
I know. It's crazy. It is.
So many emotions.
It is. I wish people, and I hopefully we are conveying some of the energy, and I hope you guys kind of were getting some of the same oomph from this chapter, because it's. Yeah,
my back is sore. I'm tight.
You're tense
from being think that words on a page can do that. The power of story.
Yep.
He doesn't, and Sam doesn't see it here, right? But a wild light of madness in Gollum's eye, glaring in his eyes. He turns, right, creeping on behind a slinking shadow among the stones. So we see that he goes away, and until Sam turns to go follow his master, but then Gollum also turns around. Right? And so we get this idea that, okay, there's another confrontation to yet be had.
Wow. Yeah, so but help me with this paragraph. So the path climbed on, and it's soon. So he gets to the point where he's going to follow after Frodo. Frodo has gone on. Let's see. Soon have been again with the last eastward course. Past. Okay. Passed in a cutting along the face of the cone. And it came to the dark door,
right?
The dark door in the mountainside. So here we are, right? Now far away now, rising towards the south, the sun, piercing the smokes and haze, burned ominous.
Yeah.
A dull
bleared
disc of red.
So again, almost kind of imitating the eye in a way, but we get the sun piercing through. So gray, black, gray, gleam, gray to the sun piercing through.
Right.
And and piercing. That he used that term to talk about the way the light was coming through the dimness. There's again, the language foreboding about there's going to be bloodshed.
Yeah.
And there's going to be loss.
Oh my! What's a red sun?
Red sun rises. Blood has been spilled this night.
Wow, kind of like that a little bit, right?
And there's literal blood that's shed, but also,
oh yeah,
the story that goes on, man. Like,
yeah.
When you come back home, can you really come back?
Right. Whether it be because the attack on the soul and on the mind here and the spirit, there may not be bloodshed there.
Like death would have almost been kind of nicer.
Yeah. Right.
Or at least maybe, I don't know, more like considerate in a way. I don't know.
Right. Okay. So, he's there. We're at the door,
and he can't see anything.
No,
it's pitch black.
And this is where you and I had talked a little bit about
this is insane.
This is wild.
This is insane. And no like indication that this was up until this point of the book.
Yeah.
No knowledge that this was going to be the case when they entered Orodruin.
Yeah. Yeah, like the idea that we're going into the lair, right? One of the lair, like the place where we created the most evil, thing in Middle Earth. I mean, something with such power. The One Ring. Here we walk to where it was forged. And the powers, all of those things that could help, right? That could get them to the door.
Yeah.
Good golly, they got to the door and they got to the edge. But it's another thing to throw it in. Gosh, it even it takes you back to like the Last Alliance and sort of like everything. Like, what was that? Like the idea that Isildur is there, right? And that same presence that we're feeling here. Okay, let's get to it. The Phial of Galadriel
doesn't work.
Doesn't work. The whatever token or power it says. What does it say? It says that there was it was pale and cold, right? It's trembling.
The heart of the realm of Sauron and the forges of his ancient might.
It talks about the idea
that it was pale and cold and trembling. You come in the middle. All other powers were here subdued.
There you go. That's the line we were looking for.
All other powers,
here are subdued. Yeah. So the whatever trinket or whatever they would have brought in here, it's not going to work. The ring is home. I mean, essentially, it's like this is where it was,
exactly where it wants to be. Honestly,
it's
because within this, that's what we were alluding to earlier. That like, if Sauron can help whatever, or the ring, or both can help get the ring back to this point, it's ironic that it's where it could be destroyed, but it's also where no other powers can help protect it or influence it. Like, good is not welcome in here.
Right.
And so that's both where you would not want it to be and where you would want it to be, because his hope is that if you would take it there, you would be powerless to resist it, and you're going to put it on, and I'm going to know exactly where to send my boys.
Yeah.
And you're donezo, and I got it.
Yep. I know. Yeah, it's almost also like there are snares and traps laid here. Like there's
it's almost like amazing that he didn't just well, it's almost amazing that he didn't just like not build an army and leave Mordor barren and just be like, come on in. Come on in.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yep.
Oh, okay. We're gonna put it on. All right. Well, here's my ring wraiths. They'll get it for me. And I don't know how he would manifest back after getting the ring. I don't know how that would work.
Yeah.
But it's amazing that wasn't one of his strategies. And that's the thing that he thought, well, they would never even dare to bring it towards.
No.
Even though that's the one place he could you know what I mean?
That it would arrogance. Yeah. It's almost like he does. I don't even know that he realizes what.
Maybe not. What his power. Yeah, I guess because he wouldn't
the
feel
undoing
that.
of his own power. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
So this is where we get to it. I mean, like now, as Sam comes in here, he sees eventually is able to get through this darkness. He just keeps pressing on, and at the very crack of doom here, we see Frodo, and Sam cries out to him, "Master." Frodo stirred and spoke with a clear voice. Indeed, with a voice clearer and more powerful than Sam had ever heard him use. It rose above the throb and the turmoil of Mount Doom. He said, "I have come," he said, "but I do not choose now to do what I came to do. I will not do this deed. The ring is mine." And suddenly, As he set it on his finger, he vanished from Sam's sight. Sam gasped, but he had no chance to cry out. For that moment, many things happened.
I love that he even just comes out and says that. Like, a lot of things.
A lot of things went down.
And then another gasp, too.
Yes.
Again, the play on the gasp.
And so let's get through this, because then I want to back up and talk about actually Frodo bringing this ring this far.
Yeah.
But, he's struck from behind. He's knocked down, and far away as Frodo put on the ring and claimed it for himself here in this realm. The power of Barad-dûr was shaken, and the tower trembled from its foundation to its proud and bitter crown. The Dark Lord was suddenly aware of him, and his eyes, piercing all shadow, looked across the plain to the door that he had made, and the magnitude of his own folly
I love that line.
Was revealed to him in a blinding flash, and all the devices of his enemies were at last laid bare.
Imagine the shock that he felt.
Yes.
Like, what?
I thought they were just spies, and I thought it wouldn't matter if I sent my host out. I didn't think 2 spies in my land would amount to anything.
He had to have been going face to eye, because he doesn't. I mean, palm to eye, because he doesn't have a face.
To eye. Yeah. Oh boy. So then his wrath is blazing. Right, he's consumed in flame.
His fear
rose. Yeah, like a vast black smoke to choke him, for he knew his deadly peril and the thread upon which his doom now hung. Whoa, so this is crazy. So what he does, he immediately is calling back his Nazgul at this time. Like, he's going to send them back
it's
fast
amazing
as he can.
Yeah, and it's amazing what happens to his slaves quailed, his armies halted, his captains suddenly steerless, bereft of will, wavered and despaired. Like, almost like some kind of enchantment was lifted.
Yeah.
Because his focus was turned completely elsewhere, that they were like stricken dumb almost.
You're right. Yeah.
All except, I guess, the Nazgul, right? Because they're driven by that.
Well, no, they're also maybe even driven by fear a little too.
Yeah.
Right. So they come back. But now Sam is able to kind of recover a little bit. He is dazed, and he does have blood dripping from his head into his eyes and stuff. But he groped forward, and he saw a strange and terrible thing. Gollum on the edge of the abyss was fighting like a mad thing with an unseen foe. To and fro he swayed, now so near the brink that almost he tumbled in, now dragging back, falling to the ground, rising and falling again. And all the while he hissed, but spoke no words. And, they describe the fires beneath, and
like raging and awoken.
Yeah.
And anger, like giving them, emotion as well. And
this is where it's at. So he sees Gollum's long hands draw upward to his mouth, with his white fangs, they gleam, right, and they snap as to bite. Frodo gave a cry, and there he was, fallen upon his knees, right there at the edge. But Gollum, dancing like a mad thing, held aloft the ring. A finger still thrust within its circle. It shone now as if verily it was wrought of living fire. And this is we said this before we started. His celebration here. Yeah. Celebrating precious, right?
3
My
times.
precious, yes.
Yeah.
And with that, let's see. And with that, even as his eyes were lifted up to gloat on his prize, he stepped too far. And that's good. And he looks up, and he has stepped back, right?
Yeah.
A little bit. Now, they do it a little differently, in the show. But
I like this
I do too.
a lot better.
Mm-hmm. And it actually has nothing to do with Frodo at that point.
Nope.
It has everything to do with the ring and all of the evil that it inflicted upon Gollum, that the bad, this gloating nature that it bestowed in him, and that it causes you to gloat, to think I have this thing of power, causes you to lose your way.
I have to gloat circled.
Yeah.
And it drove home that hubris is always the ultimate, or always leads to the ultimate downfall.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've seen it with Saruman, we've seen it with Sauron, we've seen it with various characters who are unwilling to humble themselves.
Yeah.
Like any time that is an issue where your pride overtakes, it always leads to bad things.
Yeah. Right.
And here it's in a flash. We see, because if he doesn't gloat, he at least would have for some. I mean, he'd probably be doomed anyway, because sure, Sauron would get it back, but he I don't know. Yeah.
Well, and the crazy thing is here though, you don't know. Many things could have happened.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah. Sure.
Sam is standing right there.
True.
A lot of things could. I mean, you like does like I don't know. You just don't know. I mean, there's Frodo's there, Sam's there. There's the power of the ring itself at work. All this stuff. So, but it makes sense that it would be the gloating nature.
That it had to be that way, right? It had to be that way.
Yeah, that causes him to. The hobbits didn't need to do anything. All they had to do was get it there.
Get it there.
And it would, Yeah,
the prophetic words of Gandalf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, okay. As he's saying that, he says this long-lasting sort of precious, right?
Yep.
And that was sort of the last thing that was said as he falls into the fires.
Yeah.
And
that's unreal, man.
Yeah. Yeah, he toppled in. He was on the brink. He shrieked. There's a wail. His last wail was precious, and he was gone.
Yeah.
Wailing. It actually is like sad.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And really, like the reason I think we can say that is that. Well, you see, Frodo had pity on him.
Right.
Sam did as well.
Yeah.
And man, I like it's just like to be tortured in such a way, and all, I don't know. And then you can go back to like the beginning of that story and say, well, the ring is pulling on the worst parts of our nature to cause us to do things, right? And yeah. I don't know. It's. That's probably a whole nother conversation, but it's
it's really conflicting too, because like you could in one instance you could say he set his like the decisions or destiny or whatever was set for this a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
a long time ago,
right?
And that the decisions of others to show him pity or feel pity for him enabled it to happen.
Yeah,
and then it's also like. I mean, without him doing that,
right?
Frodo says it.
Yep.
Without him doing that, so really, like in a way, is Gollum a hero?
That's where I'm saying, like I don't sit here and go, yeah, Gollum died. I don't know,
dude. Like
it has nothing to do with that. It's like
it's a confusing heroic, selfish.
The message I'm
evil
getting,
defeating act, like it's hard to unpack though, isn't it?
Yeah,
because it's so many things at once.
Right.
It's tragic because you're losing someone who was lost a long time ago, who was tormented by something that no one could withstand anyway. It's amazing he was able to keep it that long and not like lose it.
Yeah, it's amazing that he even comes back for a second with the compassion that Frodo shows him. That Smeagol comes back for a little bit.
Yes, Smeagol is back for a while. Gollum disappears.
Right.
And that's why it's tragic too, because there was some hope there for some. I mean, I don't know what, but some sort of second chance.
I even will say this. I don't know. This is something my dad has often told me. When you start to look at other people and say, and cast sort of that judgment.
Yeah, like that could never be me, or something like that.
Yeah,
or I would never do that.
Right, or just that like he was the bad guy. Yeah, whatever.
Right.
It's like I don't know. That was we didn't walk in his shoes. We weren't there.
Yeah,
and we don't know. Also, as you say, maybe he was lost. I mean, like the fight. Like he was not. It's not Smeagol. It's Gollum.
Yeah.
Gollum is the one who does this.
Yeah.
Smeagol's gone.
Right.
He's at whether you want to call it rest or peace or whatever.
Yeah.
He's long gone.
Yep.
And that's also the genius in having the two names.
Yeah, right,
I mean,
right,
like it's
right.
what Tolkien does that. I think, and it's just like, yeah, we have no idea. We have no idea. And really, like the other message I'm getting from this is that like a long time ago when the ring was created, the way it was created, why it was created, all of that, it was doomed. It was doomed from the start.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Eventually, it would come to this end. It was.
And how ironic too that
because,
it would be destroyed by someone who loved it probably almost, I mean, you could say as much as Sauron himself.
Yeah. And actually what's even crazier too is like it's not like it landed in his hands and he kept it for years.
Yeah.
And he did nothing with it.
Right.
He didn't want to hurt anybody.
Right.
He didn't use it for, I mean, he had goblins, like above him. He could have went up there and done
Delivered
who knows what.
Or or whatever. Yeah.
Like even though he
didn't bother it. Yes, he didn't use it for, I mean, I don't know, necessarily like evil will. He didn't dominate. He didn't dominate like others may have.
Like a lot of those heroes along our way in the Fellowship thought that they could master it, that they could control, that they could grow in power. He didn't do that.
Yeah.
He just had, I mean, like it was a character. I don't know. It's just different. It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to really even
and then even
wrap
how
your mind around a little bit.
Yeah. And then even how like the ring, it was a bad thing for the ring that it came out of his possession. Right. That Bilbo found it.
Right.
Like I think about the movie. Then something happened that the ring did not intend. And it was Bilbo that picked it up.
Right.
But how funny that it going back to Gollum, which was preferable to Bilbo or Frodo, is actually what destroyed the ring.
Yeah. Well.
Right? Like that's crazy. So like it should have like wanted to stay with Gollum and never get to Bilbo.
Yeah.
Because then at least it would have persisted,
Yeah. Well, and actually, it's sort of it's a weird cyclical thing because like the idea that
and all that.
Like the ring wanted to leave Gollum.
Yeah.
It chose to do that. Well, here you go, sucker. You shouldn't have let,
Right.
Boom, the unexpected thing happens.
Right. True. Yes.
Bilbo
yes.
but it is like, that's why it's a little crazy. And then I wanted to touch a little bit on like the idea that Frodo is the only one, and actually not even just Frodo himself, the combination of Sam and Frodo. Matter of fact, it's so layered,
Yeah.
Like every journey there, it's not just they couldn't have got over the mountain pass, they couldn't have got through Moria, they couldn't have got through the different places. Like,
right. Without him,
the Fellowship was needed, the wisdom of Elrond to see that the Nine would be needed, and that this is what it would take.
Yep.
All of that matters. It all matters to get them to everything.
And it all
that
works
happened.
together.
Yes, it all works together. It's such a crazy way. It's awesome, and it's like, but yeah,
because each part couldn't have foreseen the other, or predicted what the other was going to do, right? I mean, that's part of it too. Like I forget even that, like, I don't know why, but that the Fellowship was forged, and that those members were like they volunteered, and that they took it so far, and then Sam and Frodo took it so far, and they would have been stuck in they would have died in Emyn if it wasn't for Gollum. And then he gets them to another place, and then they get themselves through a place,
yes,
and then it comes back to the three of them again, and that Gollum is able to take it that final step that Frodo couldn't take, that Sam couldn't have taken.
No, yeah, right. Like Isildur and I mean even Elrond being there, like back at like the powerful people.
Because remember what happens,
good people.
Yes,
fighting for the light.
Remember what they talked about too, about how I think you said this, how you come into possession of the ring. So like think about like So say Gollum tries to escape and Sam is forced with the concept of killing him to get the ring. Does that change Sam's immediate relationship with the ring?
Yeah.
Does it then turn him into something different because of how he came into possession of it?
Right. And actually, maybe that is why Frodo is able to persevere so long, because of how it was given to him.
Given willingly, like you said. Yeah.
Yes.
And like Bilbo found it.
That's way back.
Bilbo found it, and then it was left for Frodo, and then it was Bilbo who offered to take it the second journey.
Good old Bilbo.
But nah, it's all right. And he subdued, like he submitted and said, submitted and said, okay, cool. That's, are you sure?
Your burden
are you
to
sure?
bear.
Like, I can, are you guys, do you need me to? Like, I will.
Right. Yeah.
I'll go with, okay. All right.
Right.
Wait, do you need, like, are you sure?
But again, but
such
truly,
a Bilbo thing though.
But truly,
like,
had it have been Bilbo and it never went to Frodo, maybe like the way in which it came to him, all the things the adventures he had with it, he couldn't have taken it. He could not have taken it all the way to the doorstep. I don't think he could have.
Nope.
I used to be I love Bilbo. I love Bilbo, but no, it's Frodo. Frodo had to be the one, and it was this combination. Now we're all say, like, and again, I went back and I said it's a combination of him and Sam. It's a combination of all. If you want to look at just resisting the will of the ring, I don't think anybody else could have done it but Frodo.
Yeah, no.
Frodo truly is the one who could resist it all the way up until that very point where no other power could work in that vicinity.
Yeah,
and that was it.
And it is important too to remember that all these other wise, powerful forces and individuals of good in Middle Earth saw something in Frodo.
Yes,
that they were impressed by Frodo.
Yeah. So here we go. Just to wrap all this up and be this at the end of this chapter. We know once the ring is goes in with Gollum that there's this loud sort of like eruption, and that there's the confusion of noise. Fires are leaping up, licking the roof, and they run. And Sam ran to Frodo, picked him up, carried him out the door. And they could see such wonder and terror kind of going on, right? It's crazy. They see the towers and the battlements and the tall hills and all these different areas like crumbling and falling and just right? I mean, it's the destruction. It's happening all right, crashing down. Walls crumbled and melted. Vast spires of smoke and spouted steam went billowing up until they toppled like an overwhelming wave. So this is it. Everything sort of collapsing, and this
the
evil
whole world seeming to
like Mordor is
fall.
just whatever power it was that was holding it all together, that was keeping it up and stuff. Is taken from it, and it's crumbling. Even the Nazgul, right?
Yeah,
are
like comets almost.
Yeah,
just burning, disintegrating
as they fly through the sky. Yeah, just boom,
I love too, like something that we don't get in the film is that down like lashing whips fell a torrent of black rain. Just interesting. Like you don't think about that as part of this. Like, is that like a cleansing process?
Yeah. Yep.
Like black because of this,
Yeah.
Just this crazy.
Well, and it's black because look, all the foam and the steaming smoke, the black smoke going up into the sky.
Yeah.
But yet rain on the other side of that. There's a pureness that's coming in to kind of
washing it all away.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, this is the end. Sam Gamgee said a voice by his side, and there was Frodo, pale and worn, and yet himself again, and in his eyes there was now peace. Neither strain of will nor madness, nor any fear. His burden was taken away. There was the dear master of the sweet days in the Shire. Master, cried Sam, and fell upon his knees. In all that ruin of the world, for the moment he felt only joy, great joy. The burden was gone. His master had been saved. He was himself again. He was free. And then Sam caught sight of the maimed and bleeding hand. Your poor hand, he said, and I have nothing to bind it with or comfort it. I would have spared him a whole hand of mine rather, but he's gone now beyond recall, gone forever. Yes, said Frodo. But do you remember Gandalf's words? Even Gollum may have something yet to do. But for him, Sam, I could not have destroyed the ring. The quest would have been in vain, even at the bitter end. So let us forgive him, for the quest is achieved, and now all is over. I am glad you are here with me, here at the end of all things, Sam. So, I
love the way that's done. Like, I love that the way we see it in the books is it's Sam looking out over all this destruction. And, like, we've been surprised by Sam before. I think about the voice singing at Weathertop.
Yes.
And it was like, oh, that's Sam. Like, we didn't think that's who it was going to be. And we hear this voice coming from behind Sam as he's witnessing all this destruction or the cleansing or whatever you want to call it, the land and the evil devices of Sauron being destroyed. And it's Frodo. And it's almost like I imagine him just turning back and being shocked at the voice he hears, the sight he sees, that I have circled a million times, himself again.
Yeah. Yeah.
The burden is gone. And then, like immediately Sam thinking about his hand to take care of him. And that the first thing that's done after the destruction of the ring is grace and forgiveness.
Yeah.
Let us forgive him. Like, that's big. It's
Yes.
crazy.
Yes.
Just lost a finger. He could have been pretty mad still.
Right.
But a finger is nothing compared to
No.
what he went through. Like,
Right.
lucky to have not fallen in himself or been taken by the Dark Lord, or
Right.
So,
and he says, like earlier on in that chapter, he says, I feel like he was almost in the ring's power. He was almost there.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, at the end, it's wild. Just wild. So there it is.
Yeah, man. So, dude, I actually have a gift for you.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure like when I was going to give this to you.
Okay.
And you're looking at me weird, but don't be afraid. Don't be
Okay.
scared. Okay. Because I was like, my initial thoughts was to give this to you at the very end of the reread, right?
Okay.
But the amount of introspection we've done lately, I've just thought that's not guaranteed. Like,
Wow,
something could
yeah.
happen, man.
Right.
You know, in the same way
Yeah.
that our two characters, there's nothing guaranteed past this moment of destruction of the ring.
Right.
They got to Mount Doom. There's nothing guaranteed past this.
Yeah.
So I thought I need to do this because, I could die. Something could happen.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah.
Might
yeah.
not get that chance. So when I was in New Zealand the first time, doing half my student teaching, I went on the Tongariro Crossing hike, which takes you through the Mordor of New Zealand. It's like where they filmed everything in Mordor.
Right.
Right. And my obsession with picking up rocks.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know why. And I'm sure like environmental purists would be like, that's disturbing the land. You can't take rocks from places. But to me, it's something that is connected to memories. It's something that can last your lifetime.
Yeah.
And that you can pick up and hold and say, this was from my journey.
Right.
So when I was on that hike, I picked up here and there stones from Mordor.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And when I came back, I had a certain amount that I gave to people who had been on certain journeys with me throughout my life.
Right.
All right. And so I've got one for you.
Really?
And I know you're not like a stone guy like me, but I know that you love bookshelves.
I do.
And that you got to have knickknacks, just like in Bilbo's house.
Right.
You got to have knickknacks and doohickeys. I can't get it out of my pocket.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like Bilbo trying to give the ring up. But it's that is a rock from Mount Doom that you can put wherever, man, to remember that we've been on this. And here's the other thing is, no matter what happens, like, we made it to Mount Doom. No one can take that from you and I.
Yep.
No one can take that from our community, the uppers. Like, we've made it this far. If nothing else ever happens,
Right.
we made it. Like, we completed the quest. Now there's more to do, obviously.
Right.
But we've gotten this far, bro. We've gotten this far. And let me put another layer on top of this. I don't think she'll ever listen this far, but there's one more stone to give. I only have one more left.
Okay.
And it's the biggest one.
Yeah.
It's not like that big. I don't know why, but it's
yeah.
a big one. And that one, so if anything happens to me before that can happen, there's one of the anniversary gifts needs to go to.
I see.
So if it's in my bedside drawer. If that happens,
I got you.
Get to her.
Wow.
So there you go, my man.
Wow, dude.
Like, and I wanted you to have that, and I love you, dude. I love you, man. It's been awesome,
Dude. I love you too. And
this is the last episode, right? We're never doing another.
When it's over, dude,
It was time. I think it was time. I didn't know because the whole idea was there and back again. Here you go. But I was like, we're here, and there's no guarantees, man.
Right? No.
And I'm gonna be honest, man. Like, we talked about this, the Kobe Bryant thing, that tragedy that happened, and people go, oh, like, come on, what about the normal people? Yeah, I know. He was there with his friends who weren't as famous. And I say Kobe Bryant because Kobe Bryant was famous. I don't know. Like, that's the only thing. It'd be the same way. I'm not saying that, like, every life lost in that tragedy, every life lost in every tragedy should affect us that way. It should. But for whatever reason, when famous people die young, and then to find out, too, that he had his daughter with him, and then to find out why he chose to ride in helicopters was to spend more time with his family, so his commute was shorter.
Right.
And just like hearing all these things and being like, my daughters and the girls that I love, like, just that connection there it's just things like that. Sometimes they can give you wake up calls or reminders to reality that are good things that like you don't know what time you have left. You don't know from minute to minute what's going to happen. So, and it's weird that we've been talking about living in the moment.
Yep.
And we talked about that on the way to the Rohirrim gathering, dude.
We did. Yep.
And that was before this stuff happened, but it was uncanny the way, you know, it started just thinking about reflection, you know, and us reflecting on stuff that we've done, and then thinking about living in the moment, and then like having to see different things like that happen where people are taken or their time comes and it's unexpected, and just like you don't know what's going to happen.
Man, I tell you right now, it is actually like it's crazy you're bringing this up, because like throughout the chapter we were talking about milestones. At least I brought it up a couple times. Markers. Mm-hmm. And I guess so caught up in the chapter, and we had briefly danced around this, but this is a huge. This is it. You can't. You're right. You can't take this away from the adventure that we set out on. You know, just over 2 years ago. Yeah. You know, over 2 years ago.
I know
that we said let's do it.
Let's go destroy the ring.
Let's
join in the journey.
I can remember when we talked about how they wouldn't speak, you know, about the nature of the ring during the night.
Yeah.
And we sat here at night reading about it.
Yeah.
And
it got pretty scary at times.
The danger we were in.
Yeah. Right.
We were in danger.
Yeah, dude.
You know, speaking about such things, and you know, not in the safety of daylight.
Yeah.
So, and it's like to now be here and to have come this far and to be sitting here, you're right, and to be sitting here not knowing, we have no idea.
Yeah.
We truly don't. Life is like a vapor. You know, it does appear for just a little while, and then it soon vanishes away. Yeah. And it's like, I think about that. My dad reminds me of that all the time, and just his ministry. And then, you know, I think it was a big lesson that my mom taught me. She always just, you know, I mean, like it was, this is it. You get live it.
Yep.
Live, and try to, man. I mean, like the simplest things. It's crazy. You get these two hobbits who, like, and again, we build up like, wow, these two hobbits, they did this great. Every little thing along the way.
Yeah.
You know, the men who were Pippin and his relationships, and Merry, all of it. It's just, it all matters.
Yeah.
It's all important.
Right. It does.
And everybody has a role. And I even will go as far as like, because we were talking about you just like your artwork and seeing things like right now as we sit here, and or even just before the ring was cast in, or you know, that fell into the fire. You know, you go clear back to like go to Rohan and think of the people who are there and what they're seeing far off, and the fact that they don't lose hope, and that they have some hope in their heart, I think sends tons of energy. Like I think if you just having that hope and believing in it, whatever it is, it can, I don't know, it sort of it adds to the light.
Yeah.
And it adds to
your
whatever
own
power
corner of the world that you are doing your part.
Just in general. Like like I think, and
adds to it. That's exactly, it's like
every
that's
little
exactly right.
deed that you do that is good and that is I guess earned in the light, like it just adds to it. It adds to the great fight.
Builds.
It grades like this whatever we're in. And so if it is over, you know, if Oaz has to take off,
man, you never know, right?
You know, if this life goes for me, I've told you this, like it's crazy. Like it's like I feel good.
I do too.
And I actually feel, and it's so, it would be sad, and it would, and I love you, and I love your family, and I love people who, like all of our uppers in our community, but like that is what we talked about last week, which is like live your life to the point as best you can, because everyone's dealing with different things. We talked about it the whole episode, but like do what you can with the time that you're given.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's really all that can be asked of us is to do the very best that we can along life's journey. We don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you were talking. I mean, again, I know, you brought up Kobe, and the idea is that, well, more people knew him.
Right.
That's really very simply. It's just that he was very famous.
In the same way that, like, when Viggo Mortensen dies, I will be very, very sad. Like, that it's like someone that you never knew that is, played in a part in your, like, and that holds no candle to, like, someone I know personally. You know what I mean? But it's a shared grief, because some people affect like hundreds and thousands and millions of others, and that is a good thing too. Like, and when people do it in a good way, when individuals do it in a good way, that that's an okay. Like, I think sometimes there's this weird shaming for people who like mourn losses like that, and there's no like that is.
Well, the thing is,
that's a I don't know. It's strange to me that would be a thing, but
here's something. The people who knew my mother, they with me mourned her loss.
Yeah, sure.
And celebrated heaven's gain.
Right. And they didn't know her to the intimacy that you did.
No.
But you didn't look at them and go, like, what? You don't know her.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, we all know. Everyone is known in a different way.
Right. So
to every other.
Yeah, and I guess even just with numbers, the number of people that Mom knew was, let's say, a handful. This many here.
Yep.
Right. And if somebody who, happens to be known by numerous handfuls of people,
right, like, hold that against them, like,
I don't know that I hold that, like that is what it is, like that affected more people because more people knew that person,
and if that helps others take grasp of life and realize that life is precious, and that it's fleeting, and that it's a shared mentality, I see no evil in it. I see that is only a good thing if that can help people. I don't know, any time that happens in any respect and any magnitude in your life where it helps you have a clear understanding that life is a gift. Yeah. It's a good thing.
Let me tell you something, Lane. Like we know.
I don't mean that. I don't want that to be misconstrued. I mean, like that is a good result of something that.
Oh, I know. I know.
You know what I mean? Yeah. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah.
No, I understand. I 100% understand.
I know you do. I just want everyone to know.
Yeah. But, like, let me tell you something. So, and we never will. I don't know the full, and I never will. And that's okay. The full effect, the full ripple effect that my mother had in this world.
Yeah, right.
Truly.
Right.
Through me, through my sister, through my niece, through my nephew, through, hopefully, like my children someday and things. Like, you just never know.
Well, even just people that you know.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, even that continues on.
The, like stories and things that she told me, the impact she had on me, that I then have on somebody else, that they then like changed the world.
Sarah, yeah, sure.
Whatever it could be. You just never really know.
Yeah.
And I think that is sort of what's like magical about life. And it's just sort of, and it's also, it's crazy to think about. That's why you strive to do the best you can with what you have, and you live in the light, and you do. Yeah, like that's the path that you take and you follow. And along the way, like what may seem like small ripples now could turn into who knows what. Mm-hmm. One life, one person, every person matters, and the impact that you have. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. So there's that. It all connects. It all connects back to this, and it's Mount Doom.
Yeah, buddy.
Here we are.
Yeah, buddy.
Oh.
Yeah.
And we're going to sit here with Sam and Frodo. Yeah. And we're going to let them sit here for a little bit.
Yep.
So, all right. Wow. Okay.
All right. Well, into strawberries with cream.
Yeah. And actually,
want to do some of that other stuff too, or what?
Yeah.
So we started, obviously, you guys know, we started right into the chapter because, and there's some things we're not going to do this episode because, that other stuff was just too important. Like the chapter itself, not to say that others weren't, but we wanted to honor the climax in a way that there were there was a singular focus, I guess, really, right? Yeah. Is what we thought. We were like, what if we just jump right in? Right. Just get right in.
Yeah, and I think it was important. I think that was, I think that was good. And so, I actually think, we should just
go strawberries with cream.
Yeah, I do. And I think we'll just, because what we have here is just the chapter. And that's what we wanted to focus on because it was so.
Do you want to skip this then and do it for another time?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was so monumental.
I like it, man.
And it is what it is. We don't need to say anything else.
Yeah.
Everything was said there.
Yeah.
This was.
I like that.
This was huge. I mean, Lane even asked me at the start of this. Like we were thinking, just as we were going into it, we knew what we want. We knew how much we had to say. We knew all the different things that we wanted to kind of cover.
Right.
We didn't want to shortchange it.
Right.
And we weren't reading any summary. Nothing.
Right.
We were just getting into this. We wanted
full energy. We didn't want to. I mean.
Because I learned a lot. I learned a lot from this chapter.
Yeah, me too.
And I've learned a lot from this series.
Okay.
And
yeah.
It's like
it kind of comes to a head here, and a lot. And there, like we said, we know there's more to do, and there's sort of a falling action and then another rising action, another like secondary climax. But
right.
It's not to the extent. It's a sadder one. I think this is more like a victory, and that one is more like really this happened. This had to happen. It's confusing and it's very realistic.
Yeah.
But this is sort of an achievement of sorts, and I know I've said this before, probably 10 times, maybe, but without question, now I think this is my new favorite chapter.
Yeah,
I think like this is one I can read again and again and again, and see. And again, like I'm saying this about every chapter, but I don't know. It hit me in a way that I didn't even necessarily expect. I don't know. I think because this journey has taken so long, and we've done it deliberately over like every fortnight, every fortnight, like the build and I guess maybe even too the amount of work we've put into each chapter and the amount of reflection we've done, and we've tried to analyze to our best ability and make connections to each other and to ourselves, and hopefully to our friends and our uppers, like that as not. I don't like that's been a weight that we've carried, and it's been a good thing.
Yes,
it's been this.
We want to,
I don't
wanted to get to this point.
This more of a. Gosh, I'm going to say the word tension. I don't mean that, but like a climax for us as well. Like this, it's almost excitement, I guess, and the building of the community, and just all these things that go along with it that have everything to do with the story, but nothing to do with the story. Yeah, and so it's. I don't know.
Yeah, they have everything to do with it, but they have nothing to do with it.
Right,
it's good.
Right. As confusing as Gollum destroying the ring and being a hero and not being a hero.
A lot of what we talked about today, people might say that very thing. Like, I get it, but also they deviated. They went on tangent. The chapter took you in different places. Yeah. One final thing I'll say. There is something, and we've said this numerous times, that I can't explain, like chapter paralleling real life in some ways. Yeah. The conversation that we had on the way to Texas and back, there and back again. Yeah. I never would have, we weren't planning on going. We weren't expecting it. Yeah, right. And the conversation's so matched and mirrored to this chapter that it just blew me away.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
And I actually think of how different this conversation would have been had we not
gone.
Had we not have, our Tookish nature didn't take over. Sure. Right. And we just stayed in, at home. Like it's crazy. There's good. Again, I love staying home, but I also really love going on an adventure.
Yep.
So it's just it's great.
There's two sides of the coin, man.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's fantastic, and I'm happy to be here. Yeah. And I'm very, very glad that we got to this point. And I'm glad that we stuck together.
Absolutely, bro. Made it. Absolutely. More work to do, though, isn't there?
Yes, sir.
Well, time for Fortnite farewells. We want to thank you for taking that last gasp with us. How relieved do you feel? I feel pretty good. I feel very relieved. No more pesky ring to deal with. Next time, we'll feel the veil lifted and see the field of Cormallen in Chapter 4.
If you like our podcast, don't forget to subscribe, like us, write a review, leave a comment, or send us a Shadowfax.
We'll see you in a fortnight, and remember, Frodo lives.